Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, and we are back after a one-day hiatus. Yesterday, we participated in the Blackout Tuesday, a pause on social media to raise more awareness for social justice. Now, that was obviously met with mixed reviews from both sides of the line, but when I woke up yesterday and I put a black image up on my Instagram and on my Twitter, and the rest of the boys did as well, I saw that not only it was me, but it was a lot of people that I respect in the African American culture. It was a lot of people stating that, hey, although you might not be protesting with us and might not be walking on the streets and you believe in our mission, here's a way for you to take a stand and say, hey, listen, I value the lives of everybody in America. I value African Americans. I value what they could potentially bring to the table in our world in the future. I value a world where everybody is treated the same. The ideals of America are met. And I said, that is definitely what this office stands for. We've been on the side of justice in this particular office for this entire time. When George Floyd passed the next day, although I am very much known as a person that's just supposed to dance monkey dance and give you a mental vacation, we had to take a stand and say, hey, listen, here's the deal. We know that in the past, officers have murdered black people in fashions and ways that we could never really understand. Unarmed black men and unarmed black women were passing away from cops in the past, and there was never a time, aside from the George Floyd situation, and I think it was because of the quarantine and the lockdown and the coronavirus, where the entire country came together and said that can't happen. That was a week ago. The entire world was like, hey, listen, what happened to George Floyd can't happen again. The year 2020 was potentially going to be the time where, although a lot of terrible things have happened with the coronavirus and a potential world war that popped off, and 2020 was this absolute cluster truck of a year when George Floyd was killed on camera for 8 minutes and 40-some seconds, the entire country said, you know what, now we are in a place where we won't let that fly any longer. Protests happened across the country. Messages were being stated. Words were being said that a lot of white people had probably never heard before. Hey, it isn't just cops killing black people, although that is something that happens. And the white person's answer is normally, well, black people kill black people as well. Well, that's not the point. The point is people are put in a position of power to protect and serve a community. And in the end, too often or not, those particular people are killing black people in their community and their culture. So the conversation is, well, is that all cops? No, it's obviously not all cops. And I hope that everybody understands that as well. Just because you post a black image yesterday for Blackout Tuesday doesn't mean you're against cops, but you are against bad cops. And I've heard a lot of good cops say that nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And I believe this weekend's protests and this weekend's message and the George Floyd legacy could have been one where everybody took a stand and said, hey, there's no more bad cops. And while we're at it, we need a little bit more self-awareness. And I saw just 2 nights ago, protesters in Indianapolis marching towards the governor's house, which is a little bit outside of the city. The governor had his state police outside of his mansion because it had been said that they were coming towards his house. Those state police, I would assume, are pretty high up in the state police. They're the ones that are protecting the governor. And when the protesters got there, there was a standoff. The cops had their shields on, they had their batons, they were ready for the riot, and the protesters were absolutely peaceful. Now, granted, some of them had highlight things, the sport you do. Some of them had tennis rackets, and I don't know if that was for potential catch and throwback of tear gas bombs or things of that nature. I don't know what they were expecting. But while they got close to each other, there was a yell-off. Protesters are yelling at the cops for being bad cops. And I would assume some of the cops were like, hey, we hate the bad cops just as much as you do. Then all of a sudden, in a beautiful moment, the cops and the protesters started to embrace each other. They hugged each other. Then the cops took their riot gear off. The cops then marched with the protesters down the middle of a street in the city that was supposed to be open, marching alongside of them, trying to hear each other out, trying to talk. I thought it was a beautiful step in the moments that we could potentially have officers of the law understand the black community a little bit more. I posted this. Immediately upon posting it, there was backlash from both sides. The super anti-Black Lives Matter group started tweeting, well, the cops should arrest all of them. They're stopping the streets. They're the ones that burn the things down. And then the Black Lives Matter people were upset about it because they were like, no, as soon as this camera goes off, they're going to tear gas and they're going to shoot rubber bullets at all those protesters again. It's like, well, damn. Is there anything that can happen that'll make everybody happy? And the only thing I can think about is 1 week ago, we were at a standpoint where everybody was on the same page. Now, granted, that narrative got distracted and moved whenever looters and rioters and opportunists took advantage of a protest that was something for good, and they started burning down our cities. It happened here in Indianapolis, happened in Minneapolis, happened in Pittsburgh, happened in Madison, Wisconsin, happened in New York, happened in LA, happened in Boston. All these places, the only thing that was being shown late at night was these cities getting burnt down. And the conversation moved from, hey, we're all in this together. It's no longer just Minneapolis being upset about George Floyd's passing. It's no longer just Baltimore. It's no longer just New York. It is the entire country marching. And what happened on the back end of that was riots, protests, looters, assaults, violence. In Indianapolis, we had a guy that was protesting, a big member of our downtown community, Chris Beatty, former IU football player, an African-American man. He was shot and killed by somebody who was trying to loot and steal and just take advantage of the situation. Absolutely sad scenario. But I do believe if we can all understand that we are all on the same side here. This isn't white versus black. This isn't race versus race. This is one race, the human race versus racists. And I believe 2020 is the year that we could potentially all take a stand. Yesterday, I saw some black people tweeting me saying, we need help. And the only thing white people are doing is tweeting a black box. It's like, well, when I woke up yesterday, I was under the impression that if I was to do that, it would be me stating, hey, we're all in this thing together, no matter where you're from or what color you are. Then I saw white people tweeting to me saying, you think that's going to stop racism doing that? I hope it is a chance for people who maybe follow me, who never interact with black people, just to understand like, hey, I value as should you, and realize that there are some things of our system and some things in our country, and there's some things that we can change and we can directly affect and make things better just by coming together. And I think that is what is going to ultimately happen. Last night in cities across the country, in New Orleans, there was a hug between a cop and a protester, when just a couple days ago, they were all lined up ready to go. Indianapolis, the same thing. I assume it's happening in cities where I haven't seen the video, and everybody's on the same page. The message is one that needs to get heard. The riots, the looting, the vandalism, the fighting, which nobody understands who's directing it, who's involved there, why it's happening. That is people that none of us like. Everybody hates those people. The Black Lives Matter folks hate them because they're distracting the message that, hey, we can change some things. Laws that have been in place for so long that directly target a community are things that should be changed. Then there's acts in there that protect police whenever they have misconduct, that it doesn't have to become public information. So then whenever something comes out that they kill somebody, like Dave Chauvin, who had 18 police misconducts on his record, and then finally his last act as a police officer is murdering somebody on camera and causing, now granted, George Floyd's passing is very sad. His murder is very sad. But maybe this is a time, whenever you see cops and protesters hugging and then us all come together, that we can make our country one that was founded on opportunity, one that was founded on freedom, truly be for everybody that lives within our borders. And that's where we stand. And that's why we took the day off yesterday completely. I didn't love that it was on election day, especially in Indiana. I didn't love that people couldn't promote other people to go vote. I didn't love that ESPN and Fox Sports 1 and everybody else was still doing their shows. But I felt a great sense of pride that everybody in this office was like, hey, although we haven't been a part of the protest and we have used our platform to promote this message of togetherness and getting things right for our next generation of humans, whether it's my children, whether it's African-American children, Latino children, maybe we all can live in a world where it's good, but we took that stand together here and we will forever believe that. And I hope and I think that everybody who has a sane mind feels the exact same way. Our country's been embattled. There's been a lot going on. But on the opposite side of this thing, I think will be a better place for everybody. I hope so. There's always going to be idiots, though. Every single profession, there's going to be a chance that there's a bad apple in there. That's just something that could potentially happen. I just hope that our togetherness, our unity, our unified voices will be stronger than one hole of an ass who can drive a wedge into us. And I pray for that day to happen. I hope for that day to happen. And yesterday, that's why we took the day off, because we are in for that particular set of ideals. Now, we will turn our attention to the world of sport, which is something that we know a little bit more about than maybe giving speeches of bringing the world together. But if we are something that can distract you from everything happening in this world, I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're Asian, I don't care if you're Latino. Shout out Zito, what up, dude?
Shut up.
Shout out Zito. I don't care if you're Jewish. If you watch this show, we all laugh together. We all have a good time together. And whenever sports come back, it'll even more so show the unity of America. Because when you look in a locker room, when you look on a team, it's people from all backgrounds coming together for one goal. And I'm happy that that narrative is getting shared by basically every human that's ever been in a locker room, because it's very true. America will resemble a locker room someday. It's just going to take us some time to get there, but it feels like we're on the right track. Let's not let the people that are trying to distract us from that do so and be successful, because we were all together just a week ago. Joining me at Nick Moraldo, still sunburned from a Sunday fun day. At Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. Viva Lazito is here. Evan Foxy's here. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, Boston Connor. What's up, Connor?
How you doing, boys? Got a new guitar here.
What are you, rock star?
I'm a rock star again. I'm a bass man. I slap at the bass back here. Slap at the bass. Sometimes I come down here, slap the bass down here. I'll go back up and slap the bass up here.
Who's your favorite bass player of all time?
Oh, too many to count. I can't pick one. I love them.
All of them?
I love all of them.
Oh, is this like a Bible verse? Like you just
Exactly. I would list my top 100, but there's not enough time in the show for it.
Yeah. What's your favorite bass rip that a bass guitar has done?
Oh, my favorite bass rip? You say this one right here. Dum,
Dun 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 I'm going to Wichita.
I love that one.
You didn't even know that was the bass guitar. You had no idea that was a bass guitar.
No, I did. Honestly, that one's so deep, I thought it was a cello.
That is, gee, what an idiot. He's answering your phone calls if you'd like to talk to a stooge. I don't know. You're hearing a lot of stooge probably talk on television now. You can actually call in and talk to one. 1-833-622-3331. Baltimore Ravens Stadium, whenever that thing gets going. One of the funnest places to play. And intern Mitt is here taking his minutes. Shout out to Emmett. Hope you're sober. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
The NBA is on its way back. The NBA is a league that was going like this before coronavirus popped into our country and shut everything down. NBA Sundays on ABC, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Bucks were playing, ratings were at an all-time high, Bron was getting hot with Anthony Davis, everything was getting going, and then whammy, no more basketball. You have the images of the Utah Jazz right before they were about to play a game, the PA announcer for the arena saying, the game has been postponed due to a worldwide pandemic coming. Do not panic. And then you hear people go, what? And they start sprinting out of there. That is how much the NBA was going before this pandemic happened. They were about to go into the playoffs. Everything was getting hot. And then all of a sudden the pandemic comes in like, what do we do now? Adam Silver said, I won't have an answer until at least May something. And then he said, I won't have an answer until at least June 1st. The NBA had been very calculated with what they were saying because I think they had a good grasp on the fact that none of us had a clue what was going to happen with the coronavirus. None of us had a clue what was going to happen with the quarantine. Then now it has come out and the story started to come out, especially from this show. Mark Cuban told us they are going to do the Biodome thing down in Orlando. Disney's one of their biggest partners, ESPN and ABC, big partner of the NBA. How will it work? How, Sway? How will it work? There was a 16-team tournament idea that was pitched. Then there was a 20-team tournament pitch. Then there was a 22-team tournament pitch. Then there was a 30-team tournament pitch. Nobody really knew what was going to happen. And then now it has come out that the NBA is currently modeling a 22-team tournament. Now, the way they explained it is that the top 16 teams would play to order the seeding. So the 16 teams that are already in the playoffs, 8 from the West, 8 from the East, they'll play against each other just to determine seeding. Like, hey, who's coming out of the quarantine in better shape? Who's going to be a good team? Those who were good before the quarantine doesn't mean that they're good now. We got to replay for the reseeding. And then 6 teams would opt in or play a round-robin style tournament to potentially pick up the bottom 2 seeds so the teams can still make it. 4 teams from the West, 1 team from the East. We thought this was potentially or 2 teams from the East. So 5 teams from the West, 1 team from the East. We thought this was all potentially to get Zion in there. Now it's also probably for Damian Lillard to get in there and other players. They're trying to make it as competitive as possible. Nobody fully understands how it's going to look. But the one concern for the NBA was if we do this 22-team tournament thing, 6 teams play in for a spot, then we got 8 and 8, 16-team tournament. Let's do this thing. We finish it up in October. Here we go. Then somebody said, well, wait a minute. If you're the better seed, you always have home court advantage. You don't have to travel. You get your fans. You get your atmosphere. Now, if everybody's going to be in the same place, what's the purpose of being a higher seed? Just getting a chance to play a worse team? Or maybe we should make some advantages for the higher seeds in this tournament. So these are the ideas that the NBA came out and pitched. The higher seeded team will be awarded the first possession of the second, third, and fourth quarters following the traditional jump ball to begin the game. I don't know if anybody will like that. Kind of makes it a little bit gimmicky. And also, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter who gets the ball there.
No.
Does not matter. I get it that it's the game. I get it that it's the game and it's respect to the game, but the inbound, it doesn't really matter. Jump ball, though, classic. I wish they would do jump ball every quarter, by the way. And maybe,
It should.
Yeah, it should.
I think jump ball every single quarter. Let's see who gets out there. The higher seeded team, maybe they're allowed to designate one player to be able to whistle for 7 fouls instead of 6 fouls. It's like, okay, now we're going back to goon hockey. Let's go. Let's get the Bash Brothers in here. We want him with 7. He'll take 6. These two right here are going to get 13 fouls. Ain't nothing anybody can do about it. And we'll see how James Harden is doing his little step back there whenever we have him eat one. The higher seeded team maybe receives an extra coach's challenge, huh? Maybe the refs, they're coming out of a quarantine too.
True.
Maybe that turtle-looking guy's eyes are a little bit slower because he hasn't got a chance to see basketball. Has he been watching NBA 2K and making calls on the game? Probably not. Who knows if they're going to be ready. Higher seeded team, they receive an extra coach's challenge. How about the higher seeded teams able to transport their actual hardwood home court from their own arenas to Orlando to try to preserve the feel of their own home playing experience? Because if you're jumping on your wood and you're shooting on your wood, it'll feel exactly as if you're on your home wood. That seems like a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like a lot. So you got to bring in U-Hauls, you got to bring in stage hands, and they got to move that every game now, right? So
Yeah. Yep.
who's playing next? Orlando? Is it Orlando? Yeah, put to Orlando. No, it's not Orlando. Hey, scratch that. It's Milwaukee. Somebody get Milwaukee's wood out here, please. Bring it into wood. These in an off-court feature in which the playoff teams in order of 1 through 16, the higher seeded teams would get first selection at the hotels in which they choose to stay at in the Walt Disney area. That one I like. That one I like a lot. But what happens at the beginning? Like at the beginning when they're playing these games to see who's the highest seed, where are they staying? Is a team staying in the Motel 6 because they don't have as many high-profile players, and then they get hot, and then all of a sudden they go from Motel 6 to Cinderella's Castle? Is that something that happens? Because I think that would make it a little bit interesting. There is a worry down in Walt Disney that there won't be enough 5-star hotels to keep up with everybody. So this is actually a good idea. The other 4 kind of make it a gimmicky thing. You can't do it. There's already an asterisk next to it because it is the COVID championship, which is one that will not be easy to win. It might be harder to win due to the fact that you're never home. But so you can't be changing the rules as well because it's not good, because if a team that isn't supposed to win ends up winning a thing, it's going to bite everybody in the ass anyway. It's just everybody's supposed to win it. I get it. But if somebody's coach's challenge or 7 fouls from somebody that gets hot and around, like the Orlando Magic get hot in that play-in thing, they're the number 1 seeded team all of a sudden. Then the 7 foul guy comes in, takes LeBron out. I mean, it's just all that's gimmicky. Here are some things that we think should be enacted. Okay, we thought, hey, NBA, we helped the NFL on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
Okay, they were in their CBA negotiation. We were throwing out ideas. They were just getting dropped into the CBA negotiation. We said, can we do that for the NBA?
Yes.
You're damn right we could do that for the NBA.
Why not?
This is what we did for the NBA. Instead of the things that they were just pitching, aside from the hotel thing, I think, number 1, the higher seeded team, they should be able to shoot at a little bit bigger rim. Yeah, a little bit bigger rim. Just make that thing about a half-inch bigger. I mean, just a half-inch bigger. Yeah, they might score 200 points because any shot you see miss is normally banking off. And if you just get a little bit bigger, but hey, what are we doing? Are we not benefiting the higher-seeded teams? The higher-seeded teams are allowed to designate somebody that gets 7 fouls. Why can't we just have them shoot at a rim? And you're already going to move the wood. Just get somebody to take that rim off. Take it down to the other end of the court each quarter, then you move. How about this? Lower seeded team has to shoot at a double rim. Everybody knows that a double rim is literally the most detrimental thing to your jump shot confidence that has ever existed on planet Earth. We used to play outdoor, obviously, in Pittsburgh, street courts all the time, and you get invited to a game or whatever, and you show up and you see the double rims on there, you almost get back in the car, pack it up, and get the hell out of here. That is a hoop that is just like the putt-putt thing from Happy Gilmore with the clown in there that catches the ball and spits it back out. That's what double rims do. If we want to punish the lower seeded teams, hey, you stink. We're going to make you worse. We're going to give you a rim that's impossible to shoot into. This isn't that bad of an idea. I think the NBA should think about doing this. And every quarter, take it off, switch it to the other side. Are we trying to help the higher seeded teams, or are we not trying to help the higher seeded team?
You can't dunk on those. It might as well be dunking on serrated knives.
Funny you say that, because here's another thing we could put in. The losing team, if they don't like the double rim because it is impossible, maybe have the losing team have to shoot into the rock and jock rims, 15 feet high, 20 feet high, but don't allow the standard 10-foot high one. If we're going to try to benefit and help out the higher seeded teams, I mean, let's make a real effort to do so. Make the losers, the stupid bad teams, have to shoot at 15 and 20-foot rims, and if they don't like it, they don't have to play. Ain't that right, Ty?
Yeah, I mean, why? Who says that won't work? I'd watch that.
It worked for
That'd be
Rock
great.
and Jock.
Rock
It
and
did.
Jock was must-see television, and this would definitely affect the lower-seeded teams, which is what we're trying to do. Because the home team can't play on their wood in front of their fans in their air with their food and their beds. The lower-seeded team has to shoot it at a 15-foot rim. It's only fair. How about this? If none of these work for you, I like this one. The higher-seeded team has a chance to put a trampoline inside the paint, just like Slam Ball used to have.
Oh, yes.
Okay? Higher seeded team, you played better in the early tournament to seed these teams. So you know what you get? You get a padded trampoline like the parkour kids on Instagram, and you can take off from anywhere. Just like everything else, at the end of the quarter, the trampolines that have been built into the court will get taken out, moved down to the other end, and the wood will be put back on there for the losing team to go against.
I mean, did you just save basketball?
Well, maybe not yet, because this next one wasn't even my idea. This was the Big Three's idea.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to give a higher seeded team an advantage, why not give them a 4-point shot like they had in the Big Three? Instead of worrying about the 7 fouls and designated this and another coach's challenge, just give them a 4-point shot to the higher seeded team. And if you don't like that, give them a trampoline. Give them a bigger rim. Let's really affect this thing if we're going to try to help people out. Other things to be considered. Other things that we should consider,
Yeah.
maybe lower seeded team is not allowed to cross over a basketball. There are no handles allowed by the point guard. You must look like John Stockton dribbling the ball down the court. Lower seeded teams are allowed 1 crossover per quarter. Per quarter. You must dribble it very high like Stockton back in the day. It has to resemble 90s basketball. Only 1 handle. Now, you can do an in and out.
Yep.
Twice, though, because 2 of those make 1 full crossover.
true. Yep.
So you can do 2 in and outs or 1 full crossover a quarter if you're a lower seeded bad basketball team, because we would like to help out the higher seeded team. Also, maybe think about making the lower seeded team have to play their entire roster. So those last 7 guys that are just taking up space on the bench, cheering and celebrating, even Mark Cuban in this particular case, they all have to play at least 5 minutes. Let's make sure the higher seeded teams have a home court advantage.
Genius.
Genius.
Absolutely genius.
Genius. What we're trying to say is basketball's coming back, and there's a lot of conversations about how they can make it absolutely perfect. You won't be able to make it absolutely perfect. This is a much different world than it usually is. You're all going to be staying in Cinderella, Goofy, and Mickey Mouse's house down there. You're going to be playing a basketball game, and the winner of this will be remembered forever. The NBA is doing it right. The NHL is doing it right. And we have a conversation on the other side of this break with Trevor Bauer that makes you think, okay, the MLB, maybe in spite of all the public drama, the MLB seems to be coming back. We recorded a conversation with Trevor Bauer a couple of days ago. We'll be airing some of that. We're going to a break, yeah?
We also have Adam Silver on the line. I don't know what he wants.
What's that?
Adam Silver, commissioner of basketball.
Is on what line?
He's on the line right now if you want to talk to him.
Who is this?
No one.
I think Zito is thinking that Adam Silver just saw what your rules are and called in to talk.
There was a buffer for the music to start, too.
But we were looking for the music there for a bit. But Adam Silver, if he was calling in, that is not something we could just be like, oh, don't answer that. You know what I mean?
I thought we didn't want to tell him our We want to tell them what we want to do or no?
Well, that's,
yeah.
That's literally what the whole thing was. There we go.
Real quick, what's that Rock'em Jock'em thing going on? That
Rock
was-
and Jock?
Yeah, I was
Come
too
on.
young.
Oh,
apparently.
bro, that was on MTV back in the day.
What they got, like 15, 20-foot rims? and
Oh,
they
yeah.
just-
yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
looked awesome.
It was.
10 pointers.
Oh, Sean Kemp, very good at it.
High scoring games.
Him and Marky Mark.
Oh,
Big
yeah, Mark
robbery.
Wahlberg used to have a good time down there. Anyways, baseball's back, I think.
Hopefully.
We talked Trevor Bauer on Monday afternoon. We planned on running it tomorrow. We planned on running it yesterday. Then the Blackout Tuesday happened, so we have it for today, which is great. We talked to him for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Full conversation will be an entire video on YouTube probably tomorrow. And also it'll be in our podcast, Pat McAfee Show 2.0, starting tomorrow. But boy, we pulled some clips from it, like 8 to 10 minutes. Gonna make you feel very good. Trevor Bauer, great dude.
Oh, yeah. Great guy.
Great
Good
guy.
conversation.
All right, we're back on the other side with Trevor Bauer. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
We have no idea how to do the subway system, but Z is doing the directing, the mapping, the planning. Well, my tell is in 10 minutes. That train should be ready. He knew his shit. He said it's way that way. This is Zito guided tour. We're not gonna get a spot on the train. We should get on an Uber. This was a bad idea. This was a bad decision. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean, this is going to be interesting, isn't it?
Are we on the right way to Yankee Stadium right now? To the Bronx.
I don't like that hesitancy.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
New York is it's a bit much. There's shit everywhere. It smells like shit. There's a lot of people, but it's a hub of industry out here, you know.
Thank you so much. Hey, let's go now, Yanks.
So what are we saying now, Kanaki?
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. We the one. Out of the darkness I rose up. Voted my soul, it's a gold rush. Yeah. Honor and freedom, I toast up. Kicking game on the snare drum. Right on the beat, let it bleed out like sacrifices. Cut it open, emotions. Spilling like oil and coasting. Therapy for my mental, I'm pinning a pistol and shoot down the criticisms individually. I heard the voices that told us. Yeah. Throw dirt on my name and wish me the worst and scold us. Yeah. Shot through the heart and pray on my downfall. But Yahtzee prevailed on my own. Stand on top of this. Chest like Olympic gold. Rapids move on the floor like a jazz song. Witness greatness, look up in LeBron home. Remember next time for you doubt us. That only made me go.
Do we have to do that?
I don't think so. I think that was killed yesterday. I don't think we have to do that anymore.
Unfortunately, the 10-second delay after coming back live on radio for potential station identification that we were told to do whenever the show first started will not be surviving the quarantine.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. A couple days ago, we got a chance to talk to a guy who went on Twitter and buried an agent, baseball agent, for potentially getting his narrative to too many people during this negotiations on the CBA on whether or not the MLB is going to come back. It's been very negative around the MLB and the MLBPA. A lot of money stuff, a lot of this, a PR spin. Will the season come back? Prorated season, blah, 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 blah. We talked to Trevor Bauer about it for 40 minutes. Here's about 10 minutes from that. Full conversation can be found tomorrow on the podcast, Pat McAfee Show 2.0. And the entire video of this conversation will launch tomorrow, probably night, if I had to guess. Ladies and gentlemen, a sit down with Power. The MLB and the MLBPA are currently in a situation, it seems like a standoff. The MLBPA made their offer back the other day. Where do you sit on this entire thing, and what are your feelings about a potential season coming back?
I think the first thing that we got to talk about is, I'm very confident that a season will be back, like 95 to 100%.
Okay.
So
that's big news.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we have a long history of obviously, negotiating with each other as the MLBPA and MLB, but there's been a long history of labor peace. I think we're 26 years now, since 94, depending on how you count that year. Yeah. So 26-ish years now of labor peace, and I got to imagine there's going to be it'll be the same thing this time. We'll get a deal worked out. No doubt in my mind about that. There's no way there won't be baseball this year, in my opinion. So.
And the comment about Scott Boras. Now that's an agent, by the way, he signed $1 billion worth of guaranteed contracts this offseason. I didn't know he existed until you tweeted about him, and then I kind of did some research about him. Were you referring to the potential people inside the MLBPA that are pushing the narrative like, hey, we need this money to get figured out. We need money to get figured out. Were you thinking like, hey, we're in the middle of 38 million people being unemployed, a completely different world. Should we have a little bit more brains instead of just business side? Is that why you went after Scott Boras, or what was your full motive there?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of rumors in the industry. Obviously, anytime you're involved in an industry, you hear a lot of different things from a lot of different people. Some of them are true, some of them aren't true. There's a lot of stuff that swirls around, and people have their own motives and all this different stuff. But anytime someone comes out and is trying to, I guess the way I interpreted it was he was trying to tell players, not just his players, but doing media interviews and stuff like this, exactly how they should be negotiating this, how they should be viewing it. And that's not really his job. His job is to do that for his players, for sure. But like for me personally, I don't want to be represented by Scott Boras. I haven't asked Scott Boras to represent me, and I don't want his opinions and the way he goes about negotiating for his clients to necessarily be the way I go about it and the way my representation goes about representing me. And my representation being the agent that I've chosen to be represented by, the agency, and also the PA. So I think it's good that everyone has opinions, but I think they need to be kept to their opinions and to their clients, and you can share your opinion about what's going on and breaking it down and giving fans some insight into this is what the deal means, or just trying to educate people. But the opinions on what should be happening and how players should be negotiating and all this stuff saying players should not take another pay cut, regardless if I believe it or not. This is stuff that needs to go on behind closed doors, because as you brought up, there's a lot of people that are unemployed right now, and there's a lot of other risks too. It's not just the financial aspect of it. Look, there's a global pandemic going on, and players are going to be the ones out there in close contact with each other playing sports. So we need to address the health concerns. And it's not just the players. Like as much as the players want to get back out there, and generally athletes are more risk takers than not risk takers as a whole, it's not just us. It's the coaches. It's the medical staff. It's the front office staff and everybody's families that may be in that at-risk category, may have health concerns, may not be in as good a shape as athletes are. So all these things are going to have to be going on behind closed doors anyway. The MLBPA and MLB are going to have to sit down and talk and come to an agreement at some point, and they're going to do that behind closed doors. So why we're having someone out saying this is how the players should feel or should negotiate, it just does no good.
I think, yeah, because the big narrative right now is that, okay, the MLB and the MLBPA might not have a season. You're saying 95% they will, but the narrative is they can't figure out the money. And when Scott Boras comes out and says, well, players should do this, they shouldn't accept this, all of a sudden the fans are like, well, it's obviously the players that are not going to be able to do the money side of this thing. So the players look bad, where I assume there's a lot of players in the MLB that are like, hey, we want to play just as bad as everybody. Like, we want to play as well. And that's, I think you're 100% right for saying, like, these are conversations that should be happening behind closed doors. And if you look at the NFL, by the way, the NFL has all these conversations behind closed doors. You rarely see any of this shit leak out to the public, and you're 100% right in that, I think.
Yeah, two things on that. One, I haven't spoken to a single player yet that does not want to play baseball this season. Everyone is like, okay, I want to play. I want to get out there and play. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We all love to play. Yes, it's tied to the financial ability to take care of our families. I think 60% of MLB players or something make under $1 million a year. I could be wrong on those percentages, but there's a large portion of people that are on the league minimum that don't make even close to $1 million a year, and they're looking at pay cuts, and then they have a family and a house and payments and all that different stuff. So there's the financial side of it, but there's also the understanding that this is good for the country. We want to be out there entertaining people. That's, at the end of the day, we're entertainers. Yeah, we play a game, we want to win a World Series, but we're entertainers. We entertain millions of people on a nightly basis. But we want to be out there doing that. We want to have some sense of normalcy. At the same time, we recognize that there's added risk, and in anything, you don't want to be taken advantage of for no reason. So this is why we have our union to negotiate in the best interest of the players. But then my other point on that is, MLB has come out and made a lot of this about the financial side of things. It was partially, I have to explain this part. So partially in the original agreement, there are these things that are laid out of okay, if X, Y, and Z are met, we can restart a season. If they're not, we'll discuss the financial feasibility and the health concerns of potentially starting a season. So because the original things have not yet been met, this is why we're having these negotiations and we're discussing the potential start of a season. So that's good. And then we just drive a wedge home right in between the fans and the players by making it all about the money and not about the other stuff. And so for a long-term strategy as MLB, I don't know any other company that would intentionally sit there and drive a wedge between their customer and their product. It doesn't make sense that you would try to have your customers hate your product and think that that's good for a long-term strategy. So when all these details about, it's going to be a 50-50 revenue split gets leaked to the media originally, there was not even a financial proposal that was ever made to the union that reflected a 50-50 financial
they're lying, Trevor? These people are lying to spin their narrative? No, that would never happen.
Hey, I'm not accusing anyone of lying, but when you leak it and you say, okay, we're going to put this out there in the public as a negotiation strategy, we're going to put it out there in the public. We're going to see how people react to it. We're going to see how players react to it. We're going to judge, if they're unified or not, if there's argumentation between the players or not. Then the fans look at the players and say, oh, MLB thinks we can be back, but the players are greedy and they don't want the money, and so now you have a wedge between the fans and the players. It just makes no sense long term. So it's the let me try to get the best deal this year and sacrifice the long-term health of everybody in the industry.
It doesn't make any. This happens anytime there's a collective bargaining conversation. The NFL sees it. The NFL will leak all the good things from their side of the negotiations, and then all of a sudden the PR war is already won by the NFL before the players can even get out and start speaking. And it's always going to be the fans are on the side of the owners because the owners are there before the players, and they'll be there after the players. But I think once fans start to realize that, hey, some of this is just some BS that's getting spun on one side, and some of this is just like, hey, we're trying to figure this out. It's very interesting how the PR can win a negotiation before you even get in there. I'm very happy to hear, though, that you're saying 95%. You're the only person I've heard, I think, that knows the baseball world that's like, hey, good chance baseball's coming back. Because I thought there was a chance, Trevor, that you guys were going to potentially strike. So Trevor Bauer came on the show. And we chatted for 40 minutes. Great. By the way, what's your pop time? Fast. What's your pop? Fast. He came on to talk about all things happening in baseball. He said 95 to 100% chance baseball comes back. Now, that is a much different narrative than what I've been hearing from a lot of other people. Just this morning, I heard somebody on the television say they're at about 50%. They think it's going to come back. Trevor Bauer said, hey, we are going to come back. Just know that. I just want to let baseball know if you do come back, I think your diehards will be happy that you were able to figure out how to spend and split up billions and billions of the money. But I'm not sure the average sports fan is going to be able to find time to watch the baseball when every other league is also happening at the same time. But it's good for baseball. Also good for baseball, live at bats by Momentum Sports, which Trevor Bauer is running. You should check that out on the YouTube after the show or during the show. Do whatever you got to do. Just live at bats. It is an awesome thing. It's out in the middle of the desert in Arizona. Trevor Bauer and I forget the other pitcher, another pitcher, are throwing practice rounds at a MLB hitter who's standing on the other side. They did it during the social distancing period. They're literally out in the middle of the desert doing this. It's an awesome view. The view is right behind the pitcher, so you see it is live at bats. Great concept, great content, great guy, Trevor Bauer. Full 40-minute conversation debuts tomorrow on the podcast, Pat McAfee Show 2.0. It is worth a listen. We talk about him, being the only pitcher in documented history of the MLB to take a baseball out of anger and throw it from the mound out of the stadium, out center field.
Yep.
We talk about a lot of other things, including the business of the baseball.
He taught you how to throw a curveball, too.
Yeah, he taught me how to throw a curveball. You know what people don't like about my curveball? The damn thing don't curve. But after Trevor Bauer taught me how to throw a curveball, I feel like people are just going to be walking into that batter's box and then cussing out the ump because my curveball goes 12-6 and drops out of the strike zone.
First off, cool glasses.
Thank you.
Secondly,
By the way, great call. Everybody else could have said that. They did not. You did. Good for you.
Who should we trust more, or who has more knowledge when Trevor Bauer says 95 to 100% chance coming back versus an insider who says, probably not happening?
Yeah, it feels like Trevor Bauer probably knows a little bit more than what the insider does. The insider is probably just hearing from somebody who has an inside source who knows the potential conversations. Trevor Bauer feels like he's a pretty large part of the potential negotiation conversations that are happening. That's why he was so mad about Scott Boras, the agent that negotiated $1 billion worth of guarantees this offseason, kind of putting his narrative in there. He was like, listen, you can keep your stuff for your clients, but this is how it is. I think Trevor Bauer is more accurate. And that thing of him saying, hey, every single player I've talked to wants to play baseball. That narrative has not been pushed by the baseball players at all. The NBA, I was even saying, LeBron James has come out and said we want to play. The NHL, they came out and said they want to play. The MLB, all it was about was money, money, money. And I think that's because Blake Snell's Twitch channel. And then Bryce Harper said we echo his sentiments, which they probably did business-wise. But I assume that the messaging that a lot of baseball players would like to play baseball is one that has not been spread a lot. And Trevor Bauer, that was a nice little piece of information. What's going on back here?
Do you think then that they have to, like the superstars actually have to come out and say, look, no, we do want to play, but the money has to be figured out?
Yeah, but it's just they've come too far. That should have been done maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this is the last week.
Yeah, they got to figure it all out. Trevor Bauer says they're going to. Who knows if anybody will watch any games with all the other sports happening aside from their diehards, but their diehards won't be able to think and say, the league that I've supported for so long couldn't figure out when all these other leagues could figure it out. So that's a big step for baseball. I cannot wait to get out to that desert and take BP against Trevor Bauer.
Awesome.
Ooh.
To be honest, I'm more excited to see it pitch.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll learn in that 40-minute conversation debuts tomorrow, Pat McAfee Show 2.0 podcast, that Trevor Bauer sucks at hitting. Openly admitted sucks at hitting. He said he'll pitch to me, and then I'll pitch back at him. I'm kind of pumped to pitch, too, especially now with this curveball.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it. And I'm a lefty. It's my first time ever getting a bat lefty. I go from the Frontier League right to the majors out in the middle of the desert with Trevor Bauer.
It's just classic.
No big
That's
deal.
just classic you.
All right, we got to get to a break for radio. We'll do some YouTube questions during the break. YouTube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. Join the conversation in the comments section. We can't thank you enough for joining us today. Wednesday, June 3rd, we wrap up hour one on the other side. This is The Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back. Not a bad little song there. Is that you, Connor, on the riff there?
Funny you should say that, actually. I was playing along. I feel pretty good about my skills going into Guitar Hero.
Yeah. Yeah, Guitar Hero, not actual guitar.
What are you talking about?
Every once in a while, we like to dive deep. Hey, cool glasses, dude.
Hey, cool glasses.
Every once in a while, we like to dive deep into the annals of the most beautiful part of the internet, the YouTube comment section. By the way, today, the YouTube comment section has been pretty volatile.
The phones as well.
The internet yesterday, dude. The internet yesterday, I stayed off of it. Then this morning, I kind of scrolled back through. You see a lot of white people talking about why the Blackout Tuesday isn't a bad idea. Then you see a lot of black people talking about why the Blackout Tuesday isn't a good idea. And then you scroll back to early in the morning, and everybody's like, hey, this is a good idea. Man, you just can't win in the world right now. Just can't.
Let's get on the same page.
Hey, the only thing that wins, by the way, is the fact that we all are thinking the same things, I think. There's only a couple assholes and douchebags out there that are against the narrative and against the mission at this point, and I think we could take advantage of that. I did not like that the Blackout Tuesday was on Election Day, though. You know, I did not like that.
Yeah.
It seems like that was potentially maybe a big whoopsie-doopsie on the planning of that thing, but I think the narrative in the mission was one that we can all get behind, and we did get behind, you know, because I value friends that I currently have, my former teammates that I have, people that I've interacted with. I think it's a big deal to say, hey, at the end of it, I was with you whenever the opportunity presented itself. I said, hey, let's fucking ride. And by the way, our business is strictly a social media business.
Yeah.
Just shut that son of a bitch down because we're down. We're with it.
Yep.
We're on the same page. Let's make it happen. Zito, what YouTube question do we have today?
Yeah, from Grant. He said, which member of the show would make the best astronaut?
Connor.
Go to space every day.
Yeah, he's already living in space.
Connor would be the best astronaut.
Yeah.
Just because he wouldn't get rattled by anything. And the reason why he wouldn't get rattled by anything is I think is it narcissism? What is it whenever you don't take blame for anything and you just pawn it off on everybody else?
Yeah. If you're like a narcissist, you really only care about yourself.
So the thing about Connor is...
You narcissist.
The thing about Connor, I don't think he's a narcissist. I think he cares about everybody else in here and also his trees now that he has and everything like that.
Bonnie,
They'll end up dying, but
No.
the thing
No.
about... Yeah, see, there it is.
No.
The thing about it is Connor has this incredible ability to deflect all blame for anything. And I think that is something that would be big in space. Because he would get blamed for a lot because he'd be by far the dumbest person
So like
in
a
space.
rocket ship shield.
Yeah, exactly. It would be...
It's easy to deflect when you're always right. So.
Exactly.
Can you imagine the O2 starts dropping and he's whiteboarding how to fix it?
Oh, yeah. Boys, here we go. This is what you got to do. We got to plug this into this. We got to do this into this.
Over here.
Connor.
Over here. And we're okay.
Sometimes Connor will pitch an idea, too, that is just so bad, but it will lead to a conversation that is so good. And that is what the space station could really...
Bad ideas.
Really use. Yeah.
I don't have many bad ones.
I think, literally, they all are. And your quote yesterday was... What good idea didn't start as a bad idea yesterday? That's what you. He gave yesterday. We did a lot of inflection here, by the way. A lot of inflection in the office about how we could potentially change the race relations going forward, which is quite a tall task. And by the way, I think we figured it out. With a train, we're buying a train. We're taking a tour across America in the train, introducing people to people that they would have never met before. Now it's only going to cost us a few $1,000,000. Train repair, an Amtrak relationship. We would be the 81st people in American history to own trains.
Ooh.
That's what we did yesterday, was try to figure out how we can help this problem. Because I think that is what yesterday was supposed to be about, was, hey, let's raise a little bit of awareness. Let's do some inflection. Let's do some thinking on how we can all get back on the same page and continue to make America a place that is a desirable location for everybody around the world, which it is, by the way. If you've never been out of the country, you go to another country, you can't wait to get back to America. That's just how it is. But everything can be better, including America. And that's what yesterday was about. Ain't that right?
Well said.
Yeah.
Out of the pot.
Go ahead. Oh, that's right. That's right. What's the number one sign of a bad home security system?
Stinks.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a home security system that's so complicated you never use it. This is exactly the type of security system Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against.
Jeez.
They believe that simple is safer, and it's exactly why Simply Safe is the home security for right now when feeling safe at home has never been more important. Simply Safe was designed to be easy to use while protecting your whole home 24/7. You just order online with the click of a button, open the box, place the sensors, plug it in, and your home is protected around the clock.
Bingo!
No technician or salesperson has to come and disrupt your house. You don't need to pay any outrageous monthly fees or sign a 2-year contract. And Simply Safe was named Best Overall Home Security of 2020 by U.S. News and World Report.
World Report?
Yeah. And their 24/7 professional monitoring and emergency dispatch starts at just 50 cents a day. Head to simplysafe.com/Pat and get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafe.com/Pat to make sure they know that our show sent you.
You're damn right. Shout out to Simply Safe. Great security system.
Incredible company.
Easy to set up, easy to use. I mean, it is. We got a good shot of people marching past the office 2 nights ago, and I think yesterday. Indianapolis, by the way, from what it was happening this weekend to the last couple of nights, I feel like real progress has been made here.
Yeah.
Real progress. Real people listening to the dialogue, cops, the protesters. I feel like good things have happened, and I hope that'll continue to spread around the country. Real conversations will happen. Real change will happen. And hopefully, whenever, the interactions between people in between races will become the ones that happen in a locker room. I mean, it's a cool thing. The world is behind that, by the way. It's pretty pumped. I'm pretty pumped up to see that.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Well, and like you said, you've been banging that drum for a while now, so it is kind of nice to see it starting to filter out.
Well, it's real, too. And I think that's the big thing about this entire. It has gotten so big, right? And granted, cities have burned down and stuff. Everybody is weighing in on it now, and that's how you know, like, okay, maybe it will. Maybe we will be able to make a change here because everybody's a part of it.
Other countries.
Maybe it's okay. Okay, maybe this will be something that's like, hey, here we go. And George Floyd's daughter, Gigi, saying, "Daddy changed the world." More than you could imagine, Gigi.
Yeah.
I think in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, Gigi, Steven Jackson said, "I'll walk her down the wedding aisle. I'll take her." I think she's going to be able to be really proud of what her dad's final moments caused, which is hopefully a time for everybody to look and say, hey, let's change this thing, huh? Let's change this thing.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I am a lefty.
I think so, too.
100%.
So much more comfortable. All right, we're back for hour 2. Head coach of the University of Florida Gator football team, Coach Mullins, will be joining us. We'll talk to him about how he's handling all this. And also more chitter-chatter about the world we're living in. This is the Pat McAfee Show. All right, let's do some phone calls. Radio, we are on a break. Not an easy thing to talk about, by the way.
No.
Nah.
Especially when you're a Caucasian.
But important, and you do it very well.
Well, it's very important to talk about. And I think there's going to be tone-deaf idiots. There always will be. I mean, that's just what happens. There's always going to be tone-deaf idiots who are going to see the riots take place and everything like that. They're going to be like, well, see, that's the problem right there. It's like, and that is a big problem, by the way. And we talked to J.R. Smith the other day. You listen to anybody speak about this thing, it's like, that is not what this is about. This is not about that. Let's go ahead and just make sure we keep the mission and make sure we separate the assholes and the opportunists from that entire thing. But then you have to ask yourself, well, why are the opportunists taking advantage of this whole thing? Is it because they're poor and they weren't allowed opportunities that other people had and things of that nature? I mean, yeah, the conversation is literally a never-ending one. But I think we all agree that our city is getting burnt down and potentially the world coming back together is one that we're all on the same side.
Absolutely.
And that's all I got to say about that. Let's go to Elliot in New Jersey. Elliot in New Jersey, this is a hilarious subject line. Really excited to hear what he's got to say.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
Not too bad, Elliot. How you doing?
I'm good. Listen, I just want to let you know that baseball, it ain't a sport. It's never even have been on ESPN. It's a game. It's like bowling. It's like chess. All right? And I'm tired of people saying that hitting a baseball is hard. These baseball players hit the baseball 30% of the time. Scoring a goal in hockey, that's hard. Baseball, it's a game. You don't have to be in shape to play. You got CC Sabathia, an alcoholic, pitching the ball, being the best in the league.
Guy's a fucking stooge.
Oh, no.
Elliot, how long has this hate for baseball been happening?
Since I watched a baseball game and got bored and fell asleep.
Elliot. Finally have some hope for baseball.
I'll tell you what, I'm sure Elliot is not the only person that feels the way that he just felt right there, Ty, and that has to be difficult knowing that that's a sport that you just absolutely
Probably
love.
not, but I think you played it, and you said it kind of changed your impression of baseball when you did play it. So I'm guessing that guy's never played or been, worth a fuck at it. So
playing the sport is much different than watching the sport.
Without
watching
question.
the sport stinks, okay? And I understand that people enjoy how long it is and how beautiful it is and all that stuff. As somebody who didn't play growing up and somebody with ADD, it is tough to watch a baseball. But playing it was awesome. I mean, it was cool. The dugout time there where you're kind of the camaraderie where you're talking. It is very different than any sport I've ever played. Very, very different than any sport I've ever played. And I will say that making contact with a fastball is not as hard as everybody says that it is. Now, granted, I did not get a hit, so that is...
Good butt slaps.
You kind of judge that. But I did bat from the wrong side of the plate the entire
True.
time. There are great butt slaps. There's great celebration, good camaraderie. And if you got a guy pitching on a pitching mound, it's probably a work of art to watch. But I feel like Elliot is speaking for a group that might be just as large as the diehard MLB group.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know if I would be as big of a fan, but I played it growing up, and I was, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I mean, who knows?
Elliot
Who
from New
cares?
Jersey. That guy is a negative fucking guy.
Yeah, he's
he is.
from New Jersey. I mean, that's Yankee country up there.
And a lot of winning there. Imagine if he came from. Oh, he's probably Mets. Probably
be.
Mets family.
Could be. Yeah.
Ryan in Pennsylvania, what's going on, bub?
Oh, what's going on? Sorry, Roman swipes were working a little too well, so I almost missed the call. And Elliot from New Jersey's a BFF. CC's jacked. He's going to destroy him now. You see him?
Yeah, CC is
in
in good shape.
retirement. God.
So
anyway, hey, I was just thinking, Adam Amin sort of dogged Zito on national television a while back, calling him a little fat.
Yeah.
Whoa!
He did.
No, dude, Zito, I'm on your side. I'm a BFS too. But what I'm saying is that maybe he helps
This
him
guy
out
has buried
and puts
Zito.
him on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Zito would not.
I don't know if that deal's still working since he went to Fox and whatnot, but I really think, since Adam Amin's a stand-up guy, I know he didn't mean it. I really think, little redemption, put Zito on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and maybe he goes down like Kobayashi.
It's not a bad idea.
You stink at eating hot dogs, though.
I love eating hot dogs.
Yeah, but you stink at eating hot dogs.
Don't take something I love.
You're good at. Yeah, you ate 8 in like a
We're
3 hour.
contradicting each other now. Do I love them or not?
You love
You
talking
love them.
about
You love
it.
them.
You
do
love
love
talking
hot
about
dogs.
loving hot dogs, but you stink at eating hot dogs.
No, I didn't have the water to dip it in.
Adam Amin isn't calling the hot dog eating contest anymore, but imagine him calling you in there and you being so bad. He's
The
like,
fat
that fat one on the end. Adam Amin, good friend of ours.
My luck, I'd get sprayed with the PETA people.
For the hot dogs?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real animals in there anyways.
No, there's not.
Really?
All right, let's go. We got to start the second hour here. In
I
5,
love hot dogs, by the
4.
way.
Yeah, but you stink at eating them. Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, one day back after our hiatus to take part in the Blackout Tuesday mission, which was to raise awareness for people to know that, hey, we are on the side of those looking for equality in all aspects of life in America. The mission was one that the whole world was behind after watching George Floyd get murdered on that recording. Then it kind of got distracted with the riots and the burning downs of the city and the violence and everything of that nature. And I just wanted to take part, and I wanted to make sure everybody I know that I'm friends with currently that is black, that I formerly played with that was black, that I knew through my life that was black, that I value the lives in the future of the African American community. So that's why we did that yesterday. We are back today. We had Trevor Bauer in the first hour talking about baseball. He talked to us on Monday for 40 minutes. We played about 10 minutes where he said he feels 95 to 100% certain that the MLB will be coming back. He said that all the other players that he talked to want to play baseball. He had all these great things to talk about the MLB, and he's also doing something called Live at Bats, which is a content series that can be found on YouTube right now that is amazing to watch how professional pitchers practice in the offseason. Shorts, T-shirts, throwing the ball 95 miles an hour in the middle of a desert while MLB players are trying to take a hit out of it. Really cool content piece. Very thankful for Trevor Bauer stopping by. The full 40-minute conversation will be on our podcast, The Pat McAfee Show 2.0, tomorrow, and the full video of our conversation will debut tomorrow night on the YouTube. In this hour, we have Coach Mullins from the University of Florida Gator football team to talk about the Florida Gators, the SEC, college football. What are the chances of it coming back? What has he heard? Feels like they're going to come back. Feels like the NFL is going to come back. The NHL is going to come back. The MLB is going to come back. And hopefully the world will come back together, stronger, and better on the other side of all of this. You're watching the Pat McAfee Show on YouTube. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show, and the other voices that you will hear are a handsome group of men. We have a couple of Italians. We have a Cuban. We have a stooge answering phones. We have an intern. At Nick Moraldo's here, sunburnt from his Sunday fun day. Good to see you. Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. Viva Lazito is here. Evan Foxy's here. And said stooge that I referred to earlier, bass player for no band, Boston Connor.
Play for the Yellow Bandanas, Pat.
That band stinks.
YBs.
That band
The
stinks.
YBs, as he'd said it. See, people are already giving us nicknames.
1-833-622-3331 to talk to him. And intern Mitt is here. In the first hour, we talked about how the NBA is trending towards a 22-team setup for their tournament. 16 teams will play for seeding. That's the top 8 in the East and top 8 in the Western Conference. And then another 6 teams will play the bottom seeds of the Eastern and Western Conference. I mean, it feels like we're on track to get this thing back. Game 7 NBA Finals were projected to be on October 12th. July 31st is this whole thing starting. Zion will be there. Bron will be there. James Harden will be there. Will Kevin Durant be there and Kyrie Irving? Because if they are, this whole thing looks a lot different. Shout out to the NBA figuring out. The NHL still on track to come back. A lot of people talking about the NHL coming back. A lot of people talking about the NFL coming back. And for us, there's so much conversation to be had about the sports world. Yesterday, a lot of images came out, and over the weekend, a lot of images came out about a lot of players protesting and standing up for things. And you got to remember that whenever I talked about the locker room becoming hopefully America's mindset, where people from all over the world and all over the country and different economic backgrounds all have one focus and one goal: watching Deshaun Watson and J.R. Smith and people from around the country, all the people from around the country go and protest and be a part of this movement is a big deal if you listen to anybody that's speaking, because whenever the notable faces and notable voices talk about something, more people are more likely to think about something. And that is where we stand. That's what we did yesterday. And today, hour 2, let's get right into this thing. NFL training camps will be held at practice facilities, no travel. Say hello and say goodbye to the time where teams would travel to universities for training camp. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Pittsburgh Steelers always traveled to a small university around like an hour outside of Pittsburgh. It was like tradition. Families would go watch him practice. You get autographs on the way out. It was a big deal. Green Bay always had the bikes where the fans would be able to come. They go across the street, the whole thing. When I was with the Colts, we started out at a university that was left of our city. Then we moved to a university that was upper right of our city, Anderson University. Fans were there all day, every day. But then as time went along and as the economics started stacking against the team, where it would cost them millions of dollars to transport all of their medical stuff, all of their equipment stuff, everything that you possibly need to run a football team, pick it up from your facility, move it to another facility that isn't always capable of handling all of the things that you have every single summer, then moving it all back into the building. Not only does it cost money, but it's also a nuisance to the athletic trainers, the equipment managers. Everybody is potentially getting hindered by it. Now, what are the upsides of traveling for training camp? Well, you get away with your brothers. You get a chance to escape. You have no distractions. And I'm not saying that family and kids are distractions. I'm not saying that whoever's having sex with who is a side distraction. I'm just saying whenever you all go to one place and you're kind of huddled up, there is a real camaraderie thing that happens. And we always assumed in the football world that that would never get taken away because of the history and the tradition of it. Then teams started moving their training camps back to their practice facilities. Then more and more teams started started doing it. Then like 66% of the league started doing it. Then there was only some teams that were traveling. Now, with the uncertainty of the coronavirus, with the uncertainty of what it's going to be like mixing it up with people, with where we're going to be, the NFL says traveling training camps will probably be no more for this season. And let's assume after the owners who have traveled for all these times and they notice the financials come back and how their team performs with it, I think this is potentially the end of days for the traveling training camps, except for if you're in a city that gets above 100 degrees. Like the Saints used to move their training camp. They went up to the Greenbrier in West Virginia. They moved a little bit for health and safety reasons. I assume that other people are doing the same things. But aside from that, look for the days of the public training camp to be behind us for a lot of reasons. And the number one would be the uncertainty of that coronavirus. That has kind of put a potential stranglehold on everything.
Yeah, it's the first time since 1965 that the Steelers won't be going to St. Vincent in Latrobe. And like I know their practice facility, there is absolutely no room for fans. So I assume no fans are going to be at any training camps. Are teams and coaches going to love that?
Yes. Coaches, front office, teams, the owners love the fans coming to practice, right? Not only is it a good PR thing, like, hey, we want you to be a part of our team, the foundation of our team, training camp, we all come together, coaches, scouts, players, fans, it's us building for the season. And then there's always the picture ops, and there's the cheerleaders, the mascot, the tents, the this, the that, the selling of merch, the selling of food. There's always a spectacle made out of it for the owners because it does make it a big deal, like, hey, we're in this thing together. There's public there, there's pictures, it's a trendy thing to do for some people. But whenever you're, in the front office or a coach or a player, it's like, okay, is this making us a better football team when there's a chance that a New England Patriots scout is up there with their cell phone recording every single thing that we do? Or if you're a player, let's say you're Richard Sherman at practice and you want to work on a new technique, but you just so happen to get absolutely smoked on a rep. That thing goes on the internet. That thing's viral. Some fan posts it. They're like, oh, Richard Sherman's lost a step. It's like, well, maybe he was just working on a new technique that he hadn't figured out yet. And he was going against a guy named Marquise Goodwin who runs a 4.040. So you can't really do it. Training camp is a lot of failure for a lot of people. Training camp is a lot of high intensity. It's a lot of things going on. So I would assume that the people who are focused on making the football team better, they will be happy to eliminate the distractions of the fans and the potential espionage and all that stuff. But I do believe that a lot of the football guys, diehard football guys, will miss the thought of going to a camp together. And that'll be something they'll have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of. But I assume we're at the end of days here for the training camps going public.
Is that the only thing that they'll miss? Like, are you getting anything out of those joint practices, really?
So I was a part of one joint practices with the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears. And it was interesting because some guys didn't play because they didn't want them to get hurt. So then we're using some backups for some things and some things. I think it's like a preseason game. I think you can find out a lot in one-on-ones. You also get a chance to scout another 80 players from another team, which at least half of them are going to get cut. So you get a chance to do a lot of things. I think teams love the joint practices. I think coaches love the joint practices. Players hate the joint practices because it's full go. Like, sometimes you might be able to build up a relationship with a guy and be like, hey, in this drill, we have come to an agreement that we are going to kind of, brother-in-law this thing. We're going to buddy this thing. But whenever you're going against somebody from another team, that thing is full go. Here we go. I saw Luck get some reps in against some players. I saw some of our first team guys. But a lot of the big stuff that is potential catastrophic, it was a lot of the backups and things of that nature. And you're just trying to fight for a spot, so it's full go. But the logistics of it, I think teams like the joint practices. I wish we did more of them, to be honest, because I got a chance to watch Robbie Gould and Pat O'Donnell punt and kick and see what they do during practice and stuff like that. It was kind of a nice little piece of information. But I would assume that fans not being able to watch are going to be something the fans are going to be pissed off about.
So I guess it's not official yet, but Schefter reported that the first time the players are going to be back in the facility most likely is for training camp. You think they're going to be a lot more excited this season just because they haven't been at the facility since last season?
This is what Sean Payton said. Sean Payton said literally during this thing, whenever the Zoom OTAs, which have created some incredible moments. Frank Reich of the Indianapolis Colts led off his Zoom call yesterday, I believe, or the day before that with the Indianapolis Colts, talking about injustice and everything like that. Great speech. And then there's moments for a team to come together via Zoom. Just like a FaceTime's a lot better than a text message if you want to really learn about somebody and something of that nature. But Sean Payton came out and said, when the Zoom calls were being talked about, he said, we're not doing any of it, okay? I'll see you at training camp. We'll get this thing done. And that's because Sean Payton was a coach of the same team whenever the lockout happened. When the lockout happened, there was no offseason. There was no end in sight for the lockout. Nobody had a clue. And then when you get back to training camp, everybody was much more dialed in because they knew they either had to get in better shape. I had to lose like 15, 20 through training camp. Not easy, especially whenever you get in the cafeteria and they got so much food in there.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my God.
Pizza.
But I had a great lockout. So you kind of got to wait. My training camp was, okay, can we still kick a ball? Yeah, we've been doing that all lockout. But can we lose maybe a toddler? And that was kind of what I had to do the entire time. But you saw people more focused in on their reps, more focused in meetings because they knew they had to do a lot of catch up from what they didn't do in the OTAs and things of that nature. Sean Payton came out early and said that. I would assume he's the same one telling Schefter, like, hey, a lot of people aren't going to be around their teams until training camp. That seems like that makes sense at this point anyways. I don't know how much longer they have to have.
Yeah.
Where are we in? We're June already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost to the month off anyways. So that's like a breaking news thing that isn't really a breaking news. Breaking news, by the way, this show will end in roughly 48 minutes for the day.
What?
Wow. Big news.
For the day.
Today?
Today's show will end in 47 minutes and 30 seconds right now.
Oh,
News, you're all about it.
Another show will come on, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you're on radio, another show will come on. On the YouTube, another show will not come on.
No.
Okay, this is just breaking news. But that is basically what this is from Schefter. It's like, yeah, no doy, pal. No doy, pal. What's up, Foxy?
Speaking of training camps and stuff, do we know who's on Hard Knocks yet? Are they even
It
doing
was
Hard Knocks?
supposed to be the two LA teams.
Yeah, Rams, Chargers.
Oh, that's right.
They got a new stadium, by the way. California, we have no idea how open they will be. The riots and protests in California, you had thousands of people on top of each other. Yeah, not all of them. Some of them had masks on. If the quarantine thing is still going to be something, and coronavirus is still something we're going to worry about, I don't know how these protests and things of that nature kind of expedite the process. It's almost like maybe people didn't know how to get out of the quarantine that we're currently in, and then the protests and riots were like, we'll give it a go. We will see if this is possible. We'll stand on top of each other. And then cops, they'll stand on top of each other. And then we'll just all kind of mix on each other. And yeah, there'll be some shields and stuff of that nature. But from what we've heard about coronavirus, that thing has a chance to just go ahead and do a parkour jump out of the mask into the cop. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't see hospitals getting completely overrun with the coronavirus at this point, and deaths skyrocketing, I think we all have come to the agreement that this is over.
Herd immunity.
Yeah, I think so.
This is over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Woo! Okay. Yeah. This is going to be on a freezing cold take. That has a chance to potentially end up on a freezing cold take, but I think that was one thing that a lot of people were watching as well.
We're just reading the room of the world.
Okay, I like what the protesters doing. I like the mission they're doing. Wait a minute. Is there 10,000 people standing in the same area? I was told, are they all 6 feet apart? They're not 6 feet apart. There's only 25 people. Wait a minute. There's 10,000 people down there, and they're standing on top of each other, asking to hug each other, by the way. When just, 2 weeks ago, we were told, don't even think about hugging each other. Don't even look at each other. Don't even think about looking at somebody. If they're within a basketball hoop away from you, 10 feet, don't even look at them. You might get the coronavirus. Then these protests happen, and everybody's like, oh, okay, so that was all just a bunch of BS. All right, I'm happy that we're at the point now where we're done with the quarantine. Good for everything, good for sports, good for us, and hopefully the narrative and the mission of the protests will continue to reign true. We got to get to a break 15 minutes after the hour here. Hour 2 starts. Head coach of the Florida Gators, Dan Mullen, will be joining us in about 25 minutes. There's breaking news.
Whoa. Breaking news.
In about 24 minutes and 30 seconds. Wow. Dan Mullen, University of Florida Gator, football head coach will be joining us.
Yeah!
Wow. Has he ever met Tim Tebow?
Oh, if he's lucky.
Coached him.
I believe he was the OC.
Oh.
Also, the quarterback coach for Alex Smith and the head coach for Dak Prescott.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Can't wait to talk to him about all that.
Is he quarterback guru?
Who was the guy that was the last coach of the Gators that was on that shark naked?
Oh, that
Jim
was Jimmy.
McElwain.
That was James McElwain.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was asked if I want the Florida football head coach on the show, my first thought was, oh, the guy was naked on shark. And I was like, no, that guy's been fired. Right?
Yeah.
Now Dan Mullen's there. Tim Tebow's old coach, Dak Prescott's old coach, turned that whole place around. They lost their quarterback, Franks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody got hurt early, and then somebody came in.
Backup came in, played
Trask,
very well.
Kyle Trask.
Very good football.
Yeah. He was
College football is going to be an interesting conversation here because it feels as if universities are stuck in a pickle because you got a lot of international travel and things of that nature.
yeah.
And if there's no students on campuses, their football team's saying no. We'll talk to Dan Mullen about it here about 20.
You got it.
3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Well done. Well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you. Well, I knew the math. I was waiting for it to get to 45.
Oh, so the timing there. So it took me a little longer to figure that out.
That's because you're stupid. Cool glasses, though.
Seriously, cool glasses.
We're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
He's saying don't go off the top, it's too shallow.
All you're going to hear this stadium do is they put the big paw up. They start shaking it. They go, whoa. Hey, what things are going good, Yeah, he loves the defensive side of the ball. He said yesterday to me that this is a blue-collar team. They win it on special teams. They have 5 block kicks this season. The defensive side of the ball, Lynch leads the Big 12 in sacks. But also on the offensive side, Denzel Mims is an absolute animal. He is a weapon. Charlie Brewer, the quarterback from Lake Travis. His dad was a quarterback in Texas. Yeah. His grandpa was a quarterback in Texas. And the people here in Waco just so happen to get a chance to see Charlie Brewer on a daily basis. Hey. Yeah, boomer here is going to mean a little bit different than what it means on the internet currently. And hopefully here in Baylor, they hope they're not hearing a lot of boomer sooner. Everybody wants to be a punter, including quarterbacks. If I was a quarterback, I'd want to be a punter as well. 0 yards on that punt. It's an embarrassing situation. The Dak dance that gets on national television has led to a lot of losses, but you got to respect the hips being able to. What sign am I going to make for college game day? Well, I want to make something creative. I want to make something fun. No, to hell with it. I don't like OU. It's so thick. Look how thick that thing is. That's years and years of patience. Right now? Okay, let's do it. We are out here on the Brazos River, which you can take a boat to the game. One of the only stadiums in the country that you can do that. It's beautiful out here. A lot of people would say, this is the last time I'm going to be on game day. The last time I allegedly did what I'm about to do, I ended up in a jail cell. Let's go! Bad decision. The boot kicker's getting a little wet down here. It's a lot higher than I thought.
You look like Ric Flair. That was a sellout, by the way. That was beautiful.
Do we have any other shirts? Yeah, hold on.
You need to go get changed before you get sick.
Great work, Russia. I'm actually not that cold.
Hey, I went for it. My chest hurts.
It was like 5 feet. I was standing there.
That's full commitment, by the way.
If you are listening to this show right now, I want you to take a second and look down. When was the last time you shaved your junk? It's been a while. Don't lie. Let's take a second to... Did you say hold on to me?
No.
He said don't lie.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
We can't speak to the back.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue. Manscaped is the only...
Not yet.
Manscaped is the only
Hold up.
brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene.
From the top.
Let's go,
From the top. There's a Woj bomb, by the way, as soon as you were done.
From the top then.
That is currently what's going on right now between me, Zito, and Foxy, because I can't talk to him back here because the glass. But I had to tell them, but you just so happen to be directly in the way.
That's my fault.
There's a Woj bomb coming, though, on the other side.
Zito can't hold his water. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. Perfect tools for their family jewels. 3.0 kit comes with a new lawnmower 3.0. Third generation trimmer. It's just the best. And of course, let's not forget about the crop preserver and all that stuff. When you purchase the new Perfect Purchase Package 3.0 at manscaped.com, you get the biggest bang for your buck. Subscribers get a new replacement blade refill for your lawnmower trimmer delivered to your door every 3 months, making sure your trimmer always gets there and stays fresh and clean. For a limited time, subscribers get not one, but 2 free gifts. The Shed Travel Bag, which is a $39 value add. Get 20% off and free shipping with code America at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code America.
Hey!
What was the package?
Well, I was picking 2 or 3 words from every paragraph to get through it quicker.
I saw you kind of throw it together. Shout out to Manscaped, though.
There's a bomb. Apparently, there's a bomb coming.
Woj bomb. The NBA said that they were modeling towards a 22-team tournament setup thing in Orlando for their comeback. 16 teams will play for seeding, and then another 6 will play to potentially get the bottom seeds from the Eastern and Western Conference to make it into the 16-team tournament. A lot of questions were asked, though. How will the seeding happen? How will that take place? Woj just came out and said the play-in tournament in NBA's 22-team format would only be for the 8th seed per sources. Nope, that's from Shams. Each of the 22 teams will play 8 regular season games in Orlando for seeding purposes for the playoffs. Sources tell Mr. Woj.
Wow.
So they'll play 8 games before the tournament even begins. And then Shams Charania, who'll be joining us on Friday, he says that the play-in tournament in NBA's 22-team format would only be for the 8th seed of each conference. If 9th seed is 4 or more games back, 8th seed earns spot. If 9th seed is 4 or fewer games behind play-in, single elimination for 9th seed, double elimination in a...
Wow.
What, dude? What does that mean?
Jeez. So that's the Wizards. The Wizards are the 9 seed
Connor,
in the East.
don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear
Fair
it.
enough.
Connor, you have no idea.
Fair enough.
You have no idea.
I know the 9 seeds.
No, you have no idea. They have 5 coming from the Western Conference, 1 coming from the Eastern Conference, so you don't know who the 9 seeds are. Why are they bringing 5 from one side, 1 from the other? Who's actually the 10th seed then? Is this the 9 seed or is this the 9 seed? Or is this one that's number 5 on the Western Conference, the 10th seed? The NBA... I mean, they could have done this in a very simple fashion and taken the top 16 teams or the next 4 teams and still got Zion involved for them to potentially play the 16 seed to get into the 16 seed tournament. But instead, I would assume there's some owners that are like, excuse me, we would like a chance to get in here as well. So now they opened up for 2 more teams. There's a lot to unfold here. I'm pumped for their PR team to roll out how this is going to work, why it's happening this way, and what the hell is actually going to happen, because it's it's tough to just read these things and make sense of it at all.
Yeah, apparently you have to go to MIT to figure out how the NBA teams are going to do their playoffs. So.
Shams Charania will be joining us on Friday, NFL senior insider for The Athletic. He'll be joining us on Friday. Tomorrow they're doing a vote, I assume, on this whole thing. Why not just make it simple?
I don't know.
That'd be too easy.
Well, yeah.
Do you think these teams, too, who are potentially only playing one game and then could get eliminated, is that enough to get the players to buy in to go do it?
Well, I don't think they could, right? Because I think even those bottom 6 are going to play some games.
Because they'll have to play 8 games before that.
Well, they'll have to get seeded to see who plays who in that whole thing. So it's going to be 2 different... Oh, man. It seems like it's going to be 2 different tourneys happening. The 1 through 16 and then the other 6. And then they're going to play each other to see who's playing the 16 seed, but then who's the 16 seed? Is it the Western Conference 8 or the Eastern Conference 8? Or is there going to be no Eastern or Western Conference? There's just going to be 1 through 16 seeding, which is what they originally said on the 20-team tournament. I don't know.
I thought they said they're playing all 8 games. Every team plays 8 games, and then they seed them.
That's how that's what I
figured. Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
So wait, if the Lakers go 0-8 in this,
they're out.
No, they'd be 16. Then they would have to play whoever wins the 6-team tournament play-in thing.
Isn't it out of 22 though?
No, this 16 people are playing for their seeding. The bottom 6, the added 6, 22, right? 16 plus 6 makes 22. These 6 will play each other to see who plays the 16 to get the 16 seed. I think. If I'm not, these 16 will be playing against each other to figure out the seeding for 1 through 16. If they get in the higher seeds, they get to pick which hotel they get to stay at. They also get a bigger rim, potentially, things that we pitch, because there's no home court advantage. Then the bottom 6, the Zions, the Damian Lillards, the Spurs, I believe, are in there.
Yeah. The Kings, the
Kings,
Suns, the Wizards.
The Kings and Wizards. Those 6 are going to have their own little, I don't know how many games. It won't be 8, probably. It'll probably be, I would assume, 3 to 5, whatever they do, to figure out which one of them will now play the 16 seed to get in there to take on the 1 seed, which then the 15 takes on the 2, and then the whole bracket thing happens.
How do you think they're going to
Why
set
is
up
that
the
what they
scheduling?
did? Why is that what they did?
Who knows?
More opportunity to see Zion play. More games.
But they still have an opportunity to have Zion play for that 4 thing whenever they do that. But if you do add 2 more teams, I guess you do add a couple more games for Zion to play in.
And
is this
better
all
chance.
happening because of Zion Williamson?
Yep.
I think there's a chance. Zion, if he's on television, I'm going to watch it. Now, granted, they're going to be competing against the NFL. They're going to be competing against the AFL. They're going to be competing against the NHL. They're going to be competing against the MLB, Trevor Bauer things. There's going to be a lot going on, but the NBA has real star power. I don't fully understand what they're pitching here, but I assume that Shams Charania on Friday will break it down for us in a much easier to digest fashion. I hope so.
How are they going to decide the 8 teams that they play? Because I assume some teams were probably set to play teams that aren't going to be there, and I feel like that's a ripe area for teams to start bitching. It's like, well, look at our schedule compared to these guys' schedule. Like, we don't have a shot to get the 1 seed.
There'll probably be some sort of... They'll take the conferences out of there, and they'll say this team's playing this team and the whole thing. The big question mark I have is Kevin Durant going to play in this with the Nets?
He could.
And Kyrie Irving? Are they going
to? Because
awesome. They're, I think, the 15 seed or something.
Yeah, that's what they were. Yeah.
I think they're the 15 seed.
Against the Lakers would be their first round if it was just the.
But that's not happening anymore.
Exactly.
So them playing them being seeded at 15, if they're doing the 8-game pre-season before getting into the seeding, 15 seed is probably going to be given to some people. A lot of people are going to have to run into that Kevin Durant Kyrie team if Kevin's playing. What if the Nets just get hot all of a sudden? And the Brooklyn Nets, who were the laughing stock at one point of the NBA season before quarantine, all you got to do is get Kevin Durant hot here. Kevin Durant gets hot down in Orlando with Kyrie. I mean, now we're talking about maybe the Nets are the upset factory. They come in at number 1 or number 2 seed. They're staying at Cinderella's castle. People are staying at a motel, and the Nets are the team that wins this whole thing. I mean, it is very intriguing how this could all play out, and I like that they're putting out the roadmap. I just think it would have been much easier if you make it, a little bit more basic and simple to figure out, personally.
Like someone from the NBA, when they were given this information to Woj, should have done a bracket or a map for all of us.
Well, Sham Sharania too. I mean,
Yeah.
Sham's got all this stuff.
Make us like the NHL with that bracket plus the 4 teams who are doing the round robin. They laid it out so nice.
This
for
is
us.
how it works. Maybe we should make one of those for the people from what we think we potentially heard from other people that heard stuff. We'll be able to put that
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And it'll be so good. People are like, oh, this makes sense. If they go against it, now who's wrong? The NBA's wrong. We're right. That's what we should think about doing. That's what the NHL did. They were smart. We got to get to another break. Dan Mullen, we'll try to call him earlier on the other side. And going into the break is a real treat here. There's a man who graduated from college who doesn't read good. Ladies and gentlemen, a reading by Zito.
Thank you so much, guys.
Well, it was just me, so.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Well, no, the guys also wanted it.
Good luck, Z. Good luck, Z.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No problem.
What's the number one sign of a bad home security system? Question mark.
What?
Let's forget the question mark. A home security system that's so complicated you never use it. This is exactly the type of security system Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against.
Big news here. Big news here.
What?
Big news.
What?
Big news.
Catch Me Outside girl is finally checking into rehab.
No.
Oh, Bad Bobby?
Yeah, bad baby or whatever.
What did Dr. Phil say?
Danielle Brigoli. I think he said she should have gone to rehab years ago, but then she said, "Catch me outside."
Catch me outside.
How about that?
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 Catch me outside.
How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
How about that? Then she got YouTube famous with her rapping and things of that nature. At the age of 17, she is finally checking into rehab. So not only, I'm not going to tie her into the good news.
Was this also a Woj bomb?
No, this was.
Was it the Granger?
This is from.
Is that your
Pro Bowl.
Granger story of the week?
Yeah, actually, before you read that, Zito, please.
For all the ones who get it done, there's Granger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, plus 24/7 customer support and product specialists, always ready to answer any questions. Call or visit Granger.com.
This is the Granger story of the week. America's upside down.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're going to become a better country on the other side of it. Not that we are anywhere near as bad as other countries are. We have room for improvement. We are a country for improvement. We will do so. We will come together. We will team up against the bad people in our society. Good will prevail over bad. We will stand together and make this place better. And bad babies checking in to rehab.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out. That's the Granger story of the week for the ones that got it done. By the way, they haven't sponsored anything for like 2 months. What's going on, Granger? Oh, probably quarantine.
Probably makes sense.
Come back.
Okay. That's
supplies.
Smart. Anyway, Zito. Sorry.
Yeah, here's some talking points. Simply Safe was designed to be
You
easy.
should go.
From the top, right?
You should go.
Well, the only thing, I don't like how wordy they've been getting.
They've been getting a bit wordy with you?
Yeah. All right, I'll try it again.
Please do.
What's the number one sign of a bad home security system? Question mark.
Well, it doesn't secure the house.
Very true.
Yep.
A home security system that's so complicated you'll never use it.
Bingo.
This is exactly the type of security system Simply Safe has spent a decade, that's 10 years, fighting against.
Go for it.
Wow.
Yep.
They believe... Oh, Tony had his hands up. What do you want,
No.
Tony? Oh. You sure?
Zito, come on.
You got it. Simply Safe was designed to be easy to use while protecting your whole home 24/7. Order online with the click of a button, open the box, place the sensors, plug it in, and your home is protected around the clock. No technician or salesperson has to come and disrupt the house. I'm going to call the action real quick.
Please do. I'm trying to learn about this 22 team thing.
You got it. Head to simplysafe.com/Pat and get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafe.com/Pat to make sure they know that our show sent you.
Attaboy, Zito. The more I read, the less I know. It's kind of like the internet all of a sudden. 34 minutes after the hour, head coach of the University of Florida Gator football team, Dan Mullen will join us. This is the Pat McAfee Show. What the does this mean?
Tour bus, scream loud that you knew us. Deep down on the new plug, you ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs, sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body, 210 post sitting shoddy. Crack a fist, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without out the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them laughing. I made this beat, you hear it smacking. Who is third? Hand me a napkin. You probably wasn't expecting this. What expected?
More and more information is rolling out about this 22-team model. Nobody fucking understands it. NBA insiders are very confused. I guess they're taking records from pre-quarantine into consideration, which the NHL said anything that happened before the quarantine, yes, it's got you to this spot, but it doesn't matter anymore. I don't understand why the NBA hasn't just made this very simple. I mean, I'm assuming there is a reason. Let's assume that Adam Silver and the people that run the NBA who handle things normally in a pretty good fashion, there has to be a reason. But the confusion level of this tournament down in Orlando is at an all-time high, and I don't think anybody fucking knows why they're doing that.
The original thing that I saw why it was going to 22 is it was any team that was within 6 games of the 8 seed in their conference. So I think that's why they went to 22. And now the way we're reading it is there's only going to be a play-in tournament if one of those 6 teams that were outside of the tournament, outside of the original playoffs, are now within 4 games after after the playoff or after the regular season, quote unquote regular season ends.
It doesn't make any sense. Just do the tournament. Get the 4 teams with our guy Zion involved. Get Damian Lillard involved. Get the stars involved. Give them a chance. They come in, ball a little bit, then boom, right to the tournament. Best of 5, best of 7. Here we go.
Do you think the players were like, hey, we haven't played in 2 months. Give us 8 buffer games or so before the tournament actually starts.
Should call it a preseason game or whatever.
But yeah, but those games are actually counting.
Yeah, you're right.
Which players probably don't want that to happen.
I wouldn't think so.
Hey, the NBA's coming back. Hey! What the fuck is going to happen, though? Nobody knows. There'll be 22 teams down here. The MLS is also back. The MLSPA, Major League Soccer Players Association, has agreed to a return to play with the MLS. They will also be in Orlando. Bad news for the hotels down in Orlando. Yeah. Feel like the MLS players should not get too comfortable down there because if Bron and them want that hotel, I'm assuming that's going to happen. And that is not any fault of MLS. It's just the sport in general in comparison to soccer or in comparison to basketball is so much lower. But the MLS is back. Mm-hmm. The NBA is coming back. Nobody knows how they're coming back. They're coming back. NHL's coming back. MLB, Trevor Bauer says is coming back. The NFL says they're coming back. Will college football be coming back? Haven't heard a lot of chatter about that. We'll talk to head coach of University of Florida, Dan Mullen, on the other side. We'll talk about that Gator football team, his message to his team throughout all of this, because college football is a big time for you to mature and learn about a lot of different things, not only on the field, but off the field. How's he been handling this? And what are the Gators ready to do when football comes back? That's what we'll talk to Dan Mullen on the other side. McAfee Show, Wednesday, June 3rd. We're being joined now by Florida Gator head football coach, Dan Mullen. I didn't know you guys were a Jordan team down there. I bet you the swag is next level for the Florida Gator football team.
Well, it is. I have a pretty strong shoe game, to be honest with you. I got all kinds of Jordans. I got the custom Gator Jordan. We got a bunch. And hey, you got to take advantage of it when you can get it, right?
I think you've accomplished a lot, so you deserve it. You're helping out Jordan as well, selling down there with the Gator football team. Let's talk about the current state of events that we're in. Whenever I talked about the passing of George Floyd or any race relations issues in the past, I always said that coming from Plumboro, where I was from, which is a lower middle class, majority white community, and then I go into the locker room at West Virginia University, I got a chance to meet guys from Compton. I got a chance to meet guys from all over the world. And once you get a chance to kind of meet these people and put a face to causes and come together and go for one, I always said that a football locker room is a place, a melting pot that I wish could venture into the real world. I wish that somehow the locker room could go into America. Now, you are in a very important time here in talking to your team, messaging to your team in the world that we're in. How have you been handling that with your squad, and what has your message been to your team?
Well, I think one thing I think with a lot of the things for our guys, as you said, I think it is a unique deal because our guys have a feel. I think when you're in that locker room, when you're around all the different guys, it is different. I wish more of that would get out into society. That feeling, that togetherness, that teamness. But I know for our guys, I think one big challenge is when you look at respecting the respect of people, where you don't always, you can't put yourselves in other people's shoes and know how they feel, know how they think, know how it is. But I think it's important to respect other people in that way. It's important to respect what it must be like to go through that and have that respect for other people. Don't try to assume I know what's best for you or you know what's best for me. And I know what it must feel like to walk in your shoes. One of the things we talked about the other day was is having the respect of communicate and respect other people's thoughts, ideas, their religious backgrounds. When you get in a team, when you get in that locker room, guys come from different racial backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, but everybody kind of respects us, respects each other, respects the work that they do, respects the work that they put in, respects their contribution to the team. And as we get in this society, that we can respect other people, I think that is such an important thing. Don't try to assume something from somebody else. Just respect their background, respect who they are, and really try to bring love and caring into the community. I think that is it. When you can have that respect to people and that love for other people, it's going to go a long way.
It's a special place, that locker room. And I think the reason why the bonding happens is because you go through things together. You're going through workouts at 6 a.m. together. You're going through conditioning that's miserable. You're going through training camp. You're going through the highs, the lows of a football season together. And I think America went through something together in the coronavirus quarantine. That's why I think the response to the George Floyd murder was everybody was on the same side because we were kind of like all in this thing together. And then obviously the riots and violence took a different direction. But I think we're in a better place than we've been, and I think we're closer to real change for real equality for everybody than we've ever been. Now let's talk about you. Speaking of the coronavirus and the quarantine and now protests and riots and the world being upside down, this is not an easy time to be a football coach. This is not an easy time to build a team, I'd assume. How have you guys been handling it? Has it been Zoom calls? What has been the thought process going through this all?
Well, we've done a lot, and as a coach, you're trying to mix things up, keeping everybody engaged, keeping everybody, focused on our goal of trying to become a better football team. And, so we've done it. We've had a lot of it. We've done all the Zoom meetings that have been out there. When you're come in and you do a Zoom team meeting, we've had a lot of different guest speakers come from different walks of life to try to, mix it up and give some different advice, give some different things of how guys have succeeded in their career, how to manage your career, how to manage life beyond football, motivational speakers, all kinds of different things, and then a lot of football meetings. We're pretty fortunate. Our guys starting on Monday on June 8th, our guys can come back for voluntary workouts on campus.
Here we go. Here we go. I like that.
And hey, we don't have everybody coming back, and I'm great with that. Guys are kind of in a routine at home. They're in it. They feel comfortable with their settings. They feel they're going to be able to take care of themselves there. Even though we can come back and have voluntary workouts, we're still going to be in virtual meetings. and Zoom meetings and that we're using. And so for us, hopefully it continues to progress in that direction. I think anytime, one of the things is there is so much change going on, and change is very uncomfortable for people. And then, that's one thing that is hard is change is uncomfortable for a lot of people. And when, we're changing not the social aspect of everything trying to change, just football right now. We didn't have spring practice. We're not back as a team going through summer conditioning as a whole team together right now. So it is going to be a great deal of change for us football wise, getting back together. And, ours is, when you handle this, everything that's going on with the coronavirus right now is a word. It's an adversity you're dealing with, and it's an adversity, hopefully, that we attack head on and we get better. And, anytime you handle, you're faced with adversity, you have an opportunity to get better.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're a team that has handled adversity as well or better than any other team out there. And if that's the case, when we do kick off, hopefully in the fall, that foot hits the ball. We've dealt with adversities as a team. We've found a way to get stronger. We've found a way to continue to get better, and we handle adversity in a better way. And we come out ready to go play football when we get on the field.
What have you been hearing about the return to football? There's always the Ohio State guy came out and he said, we think we can have 25%. And then the Saints came out and said 13,000. And then Texas was like, you can have 25% capacity in the stadiums. I don't think anybody has a clue. So I think there's been a lot of things thrown at the wall. What have you been hearing? What are the realistic expectations you think for when the football games will start back up? On time or not?
Well, I certainly hope that we're going to start up on time. I think the one thing we have to do is look and say, okay, as it pertains to the football scheduling and where we're at, we're 3 months away from kickoff, okay, the beginning of June. So if you go back to the beginning of March, as far as where we are with this pandemic, the world, we were in a much different place here in the United States March 1st than we are today. So for me to say this is where we're going to be September 1st, I think is really irresponsible. I think, one of the things we can do, and I think people are going to come out of this. I think, the first month, everyone, didn't handle it the right way. Then we get into learning how to grow, learning how to social distance, learning how to, to wear my gator mask walking around.
Oh, that's a good mask there. Smart. Mask off.
But I think we're a lot more responsible about things and how to deal with this and how to deal with the change that's going on. So, to sit there and say, hey, September 1st, we're going to have this percentage of people in the stands, or we're going to start the season on this day exactly right now. That's so far off into the future. I think what we have to do is continue our responsibility to continue to progress in the right direction. Here in Florida, our governor did a great job. The state reopened. I think people have reopened in a very responsible manner. You're seeing people outside a lot more, kind of getting back to the new normal of life, if you will. And you haven't seen a huge spike in cases. So I think our governor, our university president, administration have done a good job. And we continue to take these small steps forward. And if we can continue to take the small steps forward, continue to grow, continue to get back to life as normal, well, I'm interested to see where we're going to be a month from now. I'm interested. We're at a different place today than we were a month ago.
I think we all. Hey, by the way,
I want to see where we're going to keep going, and as long as we're responsible, and I don't see why we can't start football on time and hopefully have fans in the stands.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart way to look at it. Adam Silver of the NBA, he was the first commissioner to come out and say, I'm not giving any real timetable until at least June, because there was a lot of predictions being made at certain times, and they were both gloom, doom, and like, yeah, we'll be able to do it. And then 2 days later, we get a whole new thing, and we live in a very, question mark future world right now. Nobody knows. That's a right way to look at it. But as a football coach, you've had a lot of success with a lot of quarterbacks. Alex Smith, Dak Prescott, Tim Tebow. Whenever you're, by the way, shout out Tim Tebow.
Shout out Tim Tebow.
Shout out Tim Tebow. Mm-hmm. We're a big Tim Tebow show around here, Dan. But what has it been like working with your players? You can't really change much, I'd assume, in this Zoom meeting, right? It's just got to be like kind of driving home the things that they already know. Hopefully, have you changed any tactics and changed anything in the off season here?
What you work on is, one of the big things when this all started, we talked to our guys, is don't worry about what you can't worry. Don't spend all this time worrying about what we can't do. Let's worry about what we can do and how to get better in those things. Because everything you sit there, and I know, hey, it's hard. It's human nature. As a coach, I'm frustrated. I work very detailed. I like my schedule. I like to know, okay, Tell me what I'm going to do in July and August. I'm going to have it detailed and exact. You can't worry about that right now. You have to worry about the things you can control and get better. So, we had a meeting this morning with our staff and said, okay, hey, we've gone through the installation. We've gone through cut-ups. We've watched the video. Now it's our guys are teaching each other. Now, hey, I want to hear you as a player teach me. How are we building the knowledge within the game? How are you building your knowledge as a player right now? Because it's hard. I can't get out there and technically teach you. I'm not worried about, it's hard for me to get out there, show you weight transition and technically do a lot of fundamentals and technique. But we certainly can work the brain and the knowledge and processing of information. And, so we're finding different ways to try to do that, have our guys process information, learn faster, learn quicker, see it and recognize it, and train the brain as best we can, because that's one of the things we certainly can work on in meetings right now.
In between the ears is the most important place on earth. Literally, you're either going to make it or you're not.
You're a specialist, so there's only so many times I can go through, kick the ball between the uprights on the video, right? You know what I'm saying? The scheme for place kickers isn't quite as huge. So,
all right.
Those guys, I have them making stupid videos of each other and kind of trying to keep themselves abused, because there's only so much I could do with those guys. But, the quarterbacks, it's a different deal. I tell our long snapper, you got about 4 or 5 different punt schemes. Catch the punter. We're punting right. We're punting middle. We're punting left.
Take it easy. Hey, that is hard. That is hard to understand, Coach. That is difficult stuff to pick up. I've always said punters and kickers don't get enough respect for the playbook diligence. We know our plays inside and out better than anybody else on the roster.
Those guys, if they make a mistake, I look at the guys sometimes, shake my head. I'm like, I got guys in special teams meeting that actually have to play another position, maybe play multiple positions, and then come into the special teams meeting and need to know the scheme. I'm not asking you, as a long snapper, hey, snap and set left, and then cover, and you're nose up, or you're a 5-yard landmark guy. That's not that complicated, sometimes checking protections and reading coverage, but.
I didn't know you hated specialists, Coach. I didn't know. I would have started this conversation a lot different. I didn't know that, Dan.
I'm a specialist lover. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I spend my time with those guys, but life's pretty good to be a specialist, isn't it?
It's great until you miss. It's great. Hey,
I will say that. Hey, there is nobody that you sit there as the quarterback's up. Hey, you miss a block, you come back and play the next play. They kind of forget about the interception you threw in the first quarter if you leave us down the drive on a 2-minute drill, right? Yeah. But I'm going to tell you what, you walk out there, and you kick that game-winning field goal, against Florida State or Georgia or Tennessee this year. That's kind of a major impact on your social life for the next couple of years.
Either good or the complete worst way possible. Coach, I assume you guys are going to go undefeated this year, yeah? Undefeated?
You know what? I look at it. When I look at our schedule every year, I assume we are. I don't. We're not going to win that one. I guess it is. If I looked at it that way and said, hey, boy, I don't see us winning that game, I guess I'd tell the coaches, hey, why don't you guys go home, man? You know what I mean? We're not going to win this one anyway. So, if, this time of year you assume you're going undefeated every year, I plan on winning every game we play.
Oh, you're the best. We got to get out of here for radio. We'll see you on the other side. Hold on one second, Dan. We'll see you tomorrow, radio. You're the best humans on earth. Thanks for listening. All right, now we're on YouTube, Dan. All right, you could swear, by the way. I don't know if you're holding back any swears now. We're not FCC regulated. That is something to think about, though. Like Joe Flacco will get asked, do you think you're an elite quarterback? And at that point, Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. What is he supposed to say? No, I am not an elite quarterback. And people are like, oh, Joe has no confidence, can't be a quarterback. And then somebody will say, do you think you're going to win this weekend? And you're on a team that is busting your ass. And they go, yeah, I think he's going to. Well, he's guaranteeing a win. What are you supposed to think?
Well, you know what? Hey, it gives people. If we don't say stuff like that, nobody has anything to talk about all day.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah. And but it is. I want our guys. I think people have to understand. There's a big difference between confidence and cockiness. I think when you sit there and you say, hey, hey, I mean, we expect to win the game this weekend. That's not cockiness. That's your confidence in, hey, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to prepare the right way. When you say there's a big difference is, hey, coach, I expect us to go undefeated this year. I'm not guaranteeing it because I'll be honest with you. I have 2 national championship, rings here at Florida. And we didn't go undefeated in either of those 2 seasons, and we still won national championships. So, your expectations, are very different maybe than being cocky. And when guys come out that say, I certainly don't want a quarterback that doesn't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't want a quarterback that doesn't think doesn't expect he's going to win the game. Those are the guys that you want on your team. We all saw, I'm sure everybody watched the Jordan special. And it was either episode 6 or 7. That last 2 minutes,
Don't play that way.
I think there's probably a lot of people maybe that were even offended by that. And when he said, hey, there's a price for winning. As a competitor and somebody involved in sports at an extremely high level, I mean, that defines who we are and what we do. And people that are, that are offended by it, hey, that's you. I feel you, but that's probably why you're not a high-end competitive athlete, because I thought that was one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Did you hear Jordan? Did you hear Jordan say, "Well, that's you. You're probably a loser." Basically, is what he said. Like, it was a real statement, though. It's like, hey, there is a sacrifice that you have to make, and there is a mindset you have to make to be great at anything. And I think if you look around at all the greats, the one trait that they all have in common is they work their asses off. That is people that can work their asses off is a high part of that trait. And I think Jordan was an exceptional worker.
It was a special show. And one of the things that I respect, and I talked about our coaching staff about it, I can't come with that approach every day because I'm responsible for everybody on our team, if that makes sense to a point. I can't come at a win at all costs. I'm responsible for the development of young people in their lives, right? And if you look, and one of the things that works so well between, I think the Phil Jackson and the Jordan is, I want Jordans on my team. I want those guys. Oh, yeah. But then as a coach, your job is to manage the team and make sure and balance everybody within that organization. I want that guy that is going to go out there and, it wants to win.
Savage.
And then my job as a coach is to make sure, hey, that we're balancing everybody to do it the right way. And I think that's what was so great. But tell me, I saw that and I'm like, hey, I want guys. I want a guy to sit in my office on, when I'm getting ready to recruit him. I want him to say what Jordan was saying then to me, and I'm saying, hey, we want you to be a Gator. That's what I want. I want a team of those guys. Those ultimate competitors.
How has this affected recruiting? I'd assume this has been quite a wild time in recruiting. A lot more FaceTimes, I'd assume, and stuff of that nature. Is that accurate?
I think it is. I think it's gone a little bit crazy in recruiting. One of our guys said, I think there are over double the number of commitments now than there were this time last year. And I think I don't know that that's a healthy thing, but, because guys they can't get to campus. They can't have this exposure. People are, I think there's, everybody's worried about all the different things and how this is going to play out. And that nervousness, instead of going through recruiting and saying, hey, I got to know the coaches, built the relationship, came to campus. I have a great feel. I'm comfortable with that environment. I want to play for this coach. We're virtual tours, we're flying around campus on virtual, like Google Maps and other stuff. And hey, let's go over to this building and virtually talk to these people. So I think it's kind of
who's got the best drone game? Who's got the best drone game in the recruiting? And then you show the show, and then you go into the school, and then you talk to the professor. That the ability to adapt there, that all had to happen rather quickly, I'd assume, Coach, huh?
It has been very different. I say that it has been very, very different, and for the guys, and so it's just a different experience. It's been a little bit crazy, because you're on the phone a lot more probably because guys have more time on their hands. But that's just the reality of it right now within recruiting.
Last question before I let you go, and you're staying overtime, so I think you probably have stuff going on here. Transfer portal. You've been around college football a long time, national champion twice. You've been in and out. This transfer portal has really changed the game. There's some schools that are almost like banking on the transfer portal. They're like, hey, this is what we'll do. We'll save scholarships for some older players that were very talented, might have went to some big schools like Florida, didn't get playing time. Okay, we'll pull them over here. SMU, I think, had 33 transfers or something of that nature. University of Houston's going to be using the transfer portal on the regular. These are just schools that I got to talk to personally. I assume there's more out there. What are your thoughts on the entire transfer portal, and how do you handle that?
Well, you know what? I think it is what it is. So our job as a coach is to adapt to it, and so one of the things is, hey, how do we use it to our advantage? And we've had guys come in and transfer in that have made major impacts on our program. And, so I think that's just the way it is. I'm not a big quit guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't want it to become a crutch for guys saying, boy, well, I'm not starting right away, and this is hard, and coach wants me to work hard to earn it here, so I just want to transfer over here. I don't like that aspect of it. And so there's always going to be unintended consequences to something that's good. Okay? I mean, somebody that sits here and says, hey, I earned my degree from this school. I'm going to be a backup. I got the opportunity to go start somewhere else. I want to go play somewhere else. Hey, this wasn't the fit I thought. I have these extenuating circumstances. I need to go back home. That's what it's for. And when it's used properly, I like it. I think one of the things we have to be really cautious with the transfer portal as we look moving forward with the NCAA is some of the numbers don't add up. As you say, hey, I want to save a scholarship or two for transfer portal guys. Well, you're under different sets of numbers. And if you look last year, there were more people in the transfer portal than there were scholarships available. And that's not including our incoming freshmen that we already signed. So these guys are going into the portal, and it's actually hurting a lot of people. And I think one of the things you got to look at, is there a way is, do you count numbers as far as recruiting restrictions different for transfers, right? If a 1-for-1, if I have a guy leave Florida to go in the transfer portal, I can sign a guy out of the transfer portal. Scholarships are all equal. Opportunities are met for different opportunities for kids that are out there. Instead of, hey, we signed 25 in this year's recruiting class. We don't have any spots available. We had 3 kids leave for the transfer portal. We can't replace them because I've already filled my signee number for the year. So I think there's some balance of things that we're going to have to get to moving forward into the future.
Coach, that should be like a club. When a club's at capacity and somebody leaves the club, somebody's allowed in the club. There's actually somebody in there counting. That feels like that's I mean, how have nightclubs figured this out, but the NCAA can't figure it out? Hey, if a guy leaves our school, you know what that means? All of a sudden, the club has one capacity. Okay, let's go. Or one.
I mean, hey, if you're on the wait list, you're just trying to get tee times out there. You're on the wait list trying to join the club,
Get them.
You're more of a nightclub guy. I'm more of a golfing guy, probably.
By the way, I did go golf this past weekend. Yep. I bought out 7 tee times because I wanted to kind of casually drift around with the boys here. It did not get respected. There was somebody on our ass in front of us as soon as we teed off.
What did you shoot?
It was bad. It was a bad ride. Up here in Indiana, we don't have the Florida weather where you can golf all year round. So the first couple hacking sessions is bad for me because I got to loosen up. I'm tight. I'm a big ball hitter. I don't know where it's going. I'll get good about a month or 2 from now, and then it'll get cold and we won't be able to golf anymore.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, they should for people like in different areas. Your handicap index should certainly be based on time of year as a football coach, because my handicap in July is certainly not my handicap in February. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it goes down, but don't apply my July handicap to my February golf round. That's not a fair thing to do.
Look at you, Coach. You're changing the transfer portal. You're changing golf's handicap system. I mean, you're changing recruiting. Yeah. Coach, you're an innovator, trailblazer. 2-time national champion, head coach of the Florida Gators, Dan Mullen. I appreciate you, man.
Great to see y'all. Thanks for having me on. Go Gators.
What shoes do you have on right now? You said you have a good shoe game collection. You have good shoes on?
I just have regular Nike on. I got these. We got these. These are called Nike Cruisers.
Ooh. Right. Those workout shoes.
I'm gonna tell you what. these are. I was talking to Mr. Knight about it. I think if I got it right, when we got these.
Just texting Mr. Hold on.
Slow
Stop.
running shoes.
Stop. You just have random conversations with Phil Knight. You just like, hey, I was talking.
He does a coaching trip for us to go on, and I was fortunate enough to sit and spend some time talking to him. Unbelievable deal. But as the Nike presentation, as they were saying, is they don't walk. They're just slow running shoes. But they are. I'm telling you what. No, this. I mean, and you know this in my shoe game. I mean, you have running shoes. But on a daily basis, man, you want something that is super comfy. This is this Cruiser is an unbelievable comfortable shoe.
This is why you get these meetings with Phil Knight. Yeah, listen to this. This is unbelievable.
I might even send another pair if I keep showing them right here.
I got Nikes on as well. I haven't said a single word to Phil Knight. But if you let him know, these sons of bitches are nice too. You know what I mean? Hey, was Florida a dream job for you?
You know what? It really is in that, I don't know growing up. I grew up in New Hampshire. I played small college football.
Live free or die.
Hey, that's live free or die, right? Live free or die.
You know it.
You know it. You know it.
But I played small college football at Ursinus College. So it wasn't like I grew up and said, hey, this is my team. You know what I mean? This is what it is. But for me, when you look at it, one of the things, having been here as an assistant coach, and you come back, I always share this with people. Like, I'm at a school right now when I go meet with family and parents. In each of the last 2 seasons, we're the only school in the country that was a top 10 public university academically and top 10 in football. I don't have to put spins on things. It's a great point. I mean, we don't get the credit academically out there as being, we're the 7th ranked public university in the United States.
Florida?
Wow. Very good.
Yeah. Big time academic school.
In the Gainesville that I was in that had 25-cent pitchers, I think I was in there like 10 years ago. They had like 25-cent pitchers. Great time, too. Gainesville's also a good time. Great fan base. Number 7 public school in America. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Top academic school, top public university in the SEC. You're up there. Go to U.S. News World Report, top 10 public universities. We're there. I'm on the president because we did finish 6th in football and they were 7th academically. So he's got to pick it up a little bit. Dr. Fox got to get us going a little bit. But you know what? When you have that, and then the other thing, hey, I know you're up there like in Indiana. It's a little bit chilly. Everybody's trying to get down here to Florida. You're working hard on this show so that you can go retire, get a beautiful place here in Florida and work on your golf game. I live here. I got palm tree sunshine. I'm good to go. So, I mean, it is pretty much a dream job when you look at the ability to win national championships, be at a premier academic school, great recruiting base, everything you need. And I got palm trees and sunshine on top of that. It's a pretty good deal.
Good for you, man. Good for you. And you got Phil Knight on speed dial. I mean, this is just Dan Mullen living good for New Hampshire. Isn't that Chip Kelly? Isn't he from New Hampshire? Where's he from? He's Rhode Island?
And Ryan, hey, Manchester, New Hampshire. Me, Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, the hotbed of coaching, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Hey, Ryan Day, good dude up there in Cincinnati as well. He could get a job anywhere he wants, and he's staying in Cincinnati. He's still at Cincinnati, right?
No, Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
But thinking of Luke Fickle.
Luke Fickle. He's from Ohio. He's not at
He's a Midwesterner. Ryan Day at Ohio State, man. It's the New Hampshire connection.
Golly. Live free or die.
Gotta love it.
I did not know New Hampshire's a hotbed. I always thought Western Pennsylvania, this is the place. West Virginia, you got Jimbo, you got Saban, that's the place. Now, tiny little New Hampshire, live free or die, is just pumping out top 10 coaches. Are you kidding me? Good for you, Coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Mullen.
Yeah, Dan!
Appreciate you, Dan.
And the Nike Cruisers.
Great to be with you guys. Have a great day.
Hey, go Gators. Have a good one. Man, god damn.
Tough recruit, huh?
Top 10 academic school. I did not know Florida was a
No, who would have known? Who would have?
I'm trying to Google it. I can't find it.
U.S. News World Report.
Is that a Zito lie coming out right there? Or is that a top 10 academic school? Florida is? I had no idea Florida was like that academically.
Public Ivy.
I thought Florida State was the good school over there.
No. I did not think. I never thought that. I never thought
Well, that's
that.
where Myron Roll went.
I
That's
always
why.
assumed if you had a great football team, you were going to be out on the academics because your school was probably focusing on the glitz and glamour of the whole thing and not the academic
He was
world.
not lying. There they are.
Golly. Okay, Florida. Good for Florida. I like Dan Mullen a lot, by the way. Is that going to be my team in the SEC? Is Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators going to be my team in the SEC?
Chomp chomp.
Sure feels like it after that conversation. I mean, he went into a full Nike sales pitch in the middle there. We didn't need all that.
Jordan Brand, you know.
But if you're getting calls of Phil Knight on a daily basis, I guess I would pitch the hell out of it as well. And I would like to let Phil Knight know that if they wouldn't just send me a bunch of stuff, I will also push it for sure.
Hey, you start rooting for Florida, they might.
Maybe I will.
Dang, those cruisers, they glow up at night.
Well, they're not for running or walking. They're just kind of for cruising around.
Cruising around.
Zito, they seem like the perfect shoes.
I just bought a pair.
Yeah, there it is.
I sent the link in the group.
There it is. Okay, to wrap up today, where we went about 15 minutes overtime, and I said a breaking news earlier in the day that show would end in a certain amount of time. I was wrong. Subject to change, obviously. We got to get our intern minutes here to wrap up what we accomplished here on Wednesday, June 3rd. Please, Mr. Mitt, let's hear your minutes.
All right, thank you, Pat.
Hey, no problem, Mitt. Thank you, bub.
Here you go, Mitt.
Here you go, Mitt.
Come
on, Mitt. Good luck, Mitt.
What do you say now, Mitt?
Hey, let's go now, Mitt. Hey, what's your pop time, Mitt? Come on, Mitt. Come on, Mitt. Come on, Mitt. Come on, Mitt. All right, here we go.
Don't suck, Mitt.
Pop time now.
Don't suck now.
Good pop time now.
All right, we started off talking about yesterday's Black Tuesday movement. Talked about some bad apples,
Hey,
a
you're
peaceful
done.
protest.
It's Blackout Tuesday. That was
Jesus
unbelievable what he just said right there.
Oh,
Almost
wow.
literally took out everything that we talked about throughout this entire show. Maybe.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, Mitt, that was one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Not great, Mitt. Not great, Mitt.
ROCK.
Man, you suck.
Blackout Tuesday, which Mitt, we thought you potentially would know. Maybe the most about in this particular room, Mitt. It's a rough day, Mitt. Rough day. You got anything to say about your? What was that 10-second long?
Not
Mitt's
even
minutes?
that.
Maybe if you weren't blacked out literally all yesterday.
That would be a little bit. Maybe.
Ben Askren.
I did community service yesterday, too. I should have had a good day.
Did you really?
Sure. Yeah, all right.
Were you forced to do community
Republican
service?
talks?
Yeah. Cleaning up the beer cans in your front yard.
That's not public. That's not community service. Okay. This is unbelievable. All right. 12 minutes after 12, we're out of here. What a show! Thanks, Mitt, for really ending it on a
sour note.
the worst note possible.
Fucking guy.
The comments made by intern Mitt do not reflect that of the show. If you watch this entire show, you would understand. Hey, we're in this thing together. We all hate the bad people. Let's keep it moving. Let's make this place a better place. 12-12, we will see you manana. This has been the Pat McAfee Show from Indianapolis, Indiana!